Hundreds of thousands of years before the destruction of the first Death Star in the Battle of Yavin, or BBY, the galaxy forms. An energy field known as the Force comes into being on a mysterious planet near the galaxy's center called the Wellspring of Life. Three immensely powerful beings known as the Father, the Son, and the Daughter are all born as well. The Daughter embodies the light side of the Force, the Son embodies the dark, and their Father keeps their powers in check in the ethereal realm of Mortis. Over time, sentient species evolve on several planets. On the core world Coruscant, cities begin construction. It is believed to be the homeworld of humankind. Interstellar travel is developed, allowing for expansion and trade between planets. On the edge of wild space, Batuu is colonized and becomes a central hub at the crossroads of several trading routes. Spacefarers encounter massive creatures in deep space called Purrgil, who are able to travel across the galaxy at the speed of light. By studying their abilities, hyperdrive technology is created, allowing for further expansion of the known galaxy. But a number of supernovas send debris and destruction across a large area of the galaxy. Entire systems are demolished, sparking more supernovas, making hyperspace prospecting nearly impossible in what becomes known as the Unknown Regions. The literal or figurative Prime Jedi creates the Jedi Order on the planet Ahch-To. The Jedi are able to feel and control the Force. They devote themselves to the light side, constructing a temple and village on their world. The Jedi become known for the pursuit of peace and justice and the preservation of life above all else across the galaxy. Through the use of Force-assisted hyperspace navigation, a Jedi Scout discovers the planet Ilum on the edge of the Unknown Regions. It is rich in a Force-sensitive mineral known as kyber crystals, which the Jedi use to construct a new weapon called a lightsaber. 22 prominent planets, including Coruscant, Alderaan, Chandrila, and Corellia, form an alliance to help one another thrive. A new sect of Jedi called the Ordo Aspectu seeks immortality through a combination of the Force and artificial intelligence. Their leader, Rr, uploads his knowledge into a crystal, which becomes self-aware and aggressive, killing its creators. The true Rr sacrifices his life to deactivate the machine and hide their citadel in deep space where no one will find it. The Planetary Alliance expands for thousands of years, welcoming more and more worlds to their organization. The Jedi also spread their influence to planets strong in the Force like Ossus, which replaces Ahch-To as their cultural center. The Temple of the Kyber is constructed on Jedha, which becomes an important world to several Force-related religions. A rogue Jedi seeks more power through the use of the dark side of the Force. He splits from the Order, taking several followers with him, founding the Sith Order. They battle the Jedi in a conflict known as the 100-Year Darkness. The Sith are defeated and exiled, retreating to the planet Moraband. There they rebuild and plot their revenge against the Jedi. Around the same time, the Jedi encounter a warrior people known as the Mandalorians. Fearing the Jedi Order's abilities through the Force, the Mandalorians develop weapons and technology to fight them on equal ground, sparking the Mandalorian Wars. The final battle takes place on the planet Mandalore, the capital of the Mandalorian Empire. The surface of the world is devastated and scorched into a lifeless desert, forcing the surviving Mandalorians to live in domed cities. In the chaos of the Unknown Regions, a species called the Chiss carve out an area of space they call the Chiss Ascendancy. A rival species launches an attack that drives the Chiss back to their homeworld Chilla. There they unleash a secret weapon known as the Star Flash, which obliterates the enemy fleet thanks to the sacrifice of 20 Chiss members of the Myth family. The Myth are honored by becoming one of the 9 ruling families of the Chiss Ascendancy, but the activation of Star Flash dims Chilla's sun, requiring the surviving Chiss people to move underground to survive. Back in the known galaxy, human refugees fleeing civil war discover the planet Naboo. The native Gungans wage war on the outsiders, but a tenuous peace is eventually reached. The Gungans isolate themselves from the humans by building cities in Naboo's lakes and swamps. The Sith begin creating massive superweapons using giant kyber crystals. On the planet Malachor, the Jedi uncover one such weapon constructed by Darth Tanis. They attack the weapon, and every Jedi and Sith participant in the battle is petrified in what becomes known as the Great Scourge of Malachor. A Jedi Master named Radaki leaves the Jedi Order, believing he should be allowed to retain his family ties and wealth. He falls to the dark side, becoming the Sith Lord Darth Krall. A group of warriors called the Amaxine encounter the Dringir, sentient carnivorous plants that have a strong connection to the dark side. The warriors construct a space station as a base to defeat the creatures, but are instead overtaken by them. The station is infested with the Dringir until it's discovered by Darth Krall and his followers. They are able to put the monsters in stasis through the creation of 4 Force-imbued statues. The Sith Order continues to wage war against the Jedi, who by now have begun working alongside the group of allied planets. The Sith conquer Coruscant and build a shrine there. A disturbed, Force-sensitive artist named Momin is discovered by the Sith Lady Shaw. She trains him in the dark side of the Force until he betrays and murders her. He builds a super weapon that he believes will be the ultimate expression of his horrific artistry and unleashes it on the planet Mustafar. The Jedi stop his destruction, and the interrupted ritual traps Momin's spirit in his own mask, which is taken by the Jedi for safekeeping. Perhaps in Momin's very attack, the husband of Mustafar's leader, Lady Corvax, perishes. She is Force-sensitive and attempts to resurrect Lord Corvax using a sacred Mustafarian artifact called the Bright Star. This ritual also fails, and the energy released by the relic transforms the once green planet into a lava-covered hellscape. The Jedi accept the first Mandalorian into their order named Tar Vizsla. He creates a unique, black-bladed lightsaber called the Darksaber. After nearly 4,000 years of conflict, the Sith Wars come to an end. The final battle takes place on Coruscant, and the Sith are defeated once again. Although the Jedi believe them to be extinct, Darth Bane escapes as the sole survivor. Realizing that the Sith Order failed due to thousands of individual members each fighting for power and control amongst themselves, he establishes the Rule of Two. He takes a single apprentice and continues the Sith Order in the shadows, planning to grow their influence in the Force and galactic politics over the course of generations. In the wake of the Sith Wars, the Planetary Alliance is reformed into an official government called the Galactic Republic, setting its capital on Coruscant. 4 Jedi Masters construct a great Jedi temple on top of the Sith Shrine, hoping to eliminate its dark influence. This new temple replaces Ossus as the headquarters of the Jedi Order and strengthens the relationship of the Force users and the new galactic government. After Tar Vizsla's death, the Darksaber is kept by the Jedi until other members of the Mandalorian clan Vizsla infiltrate the Jedi Temple and reclaim it. The blade becomes an heirloom and symbol of power for their family. The Republic grows for centuries, welcoming new member worlds, including Naboo. Republic Pathfinder teams of Jedi and hyperspace prospectors map new hyperspace lanes, improving travel, communication, and safety across the Outer Rim. The Jedi establish several outposts across the galaxy. This period becomes known as the High Republic. A Pathfinder team including 2 Jedi named Porter Engle and Barash broker a difficult ceasefire on the war-torn planet Ganzavor. The experience leads Barash to doubt her interpretations of the will of the Force, and she takes a vow to step away from the Jedi Order until she finds her confidence once again. On Takodana, a young Jedi Padawan named Sav Malagan runs away from her Jedi outpost, seeking adventure with the pirate queen Maz Kanata as she and her crew fight against a rival gang called the Dank Grax. A treasure hunter and hyperspace prospector named Radikaz Dobbs discovers the mysterious planet X during his explorations in the Outer Rim. There he finds the egg of some unknown creature. He strands the rest of his Pathfinder team on the planet Gloam and seeks a buyer for his strange new relic. He finds one on the planet Dalna in the form of the Mother, the leader of a cult called the Path of the Open Hand that believes the Force should not be used by groups like the Jedi. She recruits Dobbs to her cause and takes the egg, which hatches into a horrific monster. When 2 Jedi come to investigate the Path, the nameless creature feeds off of their life energy, transforming them into husks. The neighboring planets of Irem and Erino experience generations of war. Although they are not members of the Republic, Jedi and politicians lead peace talks which conclude with a political marriage between the next generation of rulers. The signing of a treaty is proudly announced to be held on Jedha during the world's Festival of Balance. 2 members of the Path, cousins named Marta and Yana Ro, take up leadership positions in the cult. Marta becomes a spiritual guide, and Yana gains control over the beast, which comes to be known as the Leveler. The Mother, the Rose, and several other members of the Path head to Jedha under the guise of joining the Convocation of the Force, a group of various Force religions who gather to share and discuss their philosophies. The Herald of the Path demands the Convocation disband, and when he is denied, he incites a riot and sets the Leveler loose in the Holy City, which spreads fear and panic throughout the crowd. The Mother also sabotages the peace talks of Irem and Erino, sparking further conflict between the 2 worlds. During the riot, the Herald and Yana find and steal an artifact that will allow them to better control the Leveler. Marta Ro and several members of the Path of the Open Hand follow the hyperspace trail of Radikaz Dobbs and travel to Planet X. They collect more nameless eggs and barely escape with their lives after being attacked by a terrifying creature referred to as the Underdweller. Several Jedi and the 2 newly married rulers of Irem and Erino travel to Dalna to investigate the Path of the Open Hand and their intentions. They are attacked by cult members now calling themselves the Path of the Closed Fist after Marta takes control of the group from the Mother. The Leveler and the newly hatched creatures like it feed on more Jedi. The Battle of Dalna is bloody and both sides are met with heavy losses. The armies of Irem and Erino join forces to provide reinforcements and defeat the Path. Marta Rowe kills the mother and drowns most of the nameless creatures from Planet X. She escapes Dalna along with the Leveler and a handful of surviving members of the Path. The Jedi that encountered the Nameless agree to keep the mysterious creature's existence a secret until they can learn more about it. But one witness named Aslan Rel begins to lose his mind and leaves the Jedi Order to investigate the Nameless on his own. Over time, Marta Rowe's Path of the Closed Fist evolves into a group of marauders calling themselves the Nile. They are led by her descendant, Asgar Rowe, who kidnaps a Force-sensitive woman named Mari Santeca, who is able to use her powers to find secret hyperspace paths through the galaxy. Although the Republic is largely at peace, local and planetary disputes continue to erupt in the ever-expanding frontier. The Jedi Council receives a distress call from the planet Turak, where raiders are attacking a small village. One of the Grand Masters of the Order, a small but powerful being named Yoda, travels there and lives among its native people until he helps the two civilizations of the planet find peace. Iram and Darino maintain their tense relationship for over 100 more years until a criminal syndicate kidnaps royals from each planet. Both worlds request assistance from the Jedi Order. When the situation is resolved, Iram and Darino finally settle their differences and begin working more closely with the Republic. A droid named Ajax Sigma breaks free of its programming, becoming a droid revolutionary. He kills thousands of organics in a quest to emancipate more droids until the Jedi defeat him and remove his neural core. A planet in the mid-rim called Quinn is ecologically damaged by heavy mining for precious gemstones. The Jedi lead what comes to be known as the Grand Renewal, purifying the seas and skies, revitalizing the dying world. Chancellor Lina So constructs a space station called Starlight Beacon, hoping to continue uniting the Outer Rim, inviting systems into the constantly growing Republic. Their expansion is resisted by the Nile, who are led by Asgar Rowe's son, Markion. The Nile are able to weaponize hyperspace thanks to Mari Santeca's paths. Using her abilities, the Nile engineer the destruction of a Republic transport ship as it travels through hyperspace. Its debris emerges into real space across the galaxy at terrible speeds, threatening the lives of countless Outer Rim citizens. The Jedi heroically save as many people as they can, becoming symbols of hope. The debris is eventually contained, but the event comes to be known as the Great Disaster. In the midst of the chaos in the Outer Rim, Markion takes several hostages, including a captured Jedi Master named Loden Greatstorm. On the planet Kobo, a Jedi Knight named Dagan Gera learns to navigate a nearby nebula called the Kobo Abyss. On the other side, he finds a paradise world he names Tanalor. In the wake of the Nile attacks, the Jedi Council refuses to establish a strong presence there, infuriating Gera. He is injured when he attacks his fellow Jedi, who leave him in a back-to-tank on Kobo while they deal with the Nile threat. A group of Padawans under the tutelage of Yoda stop a Nile attack on the planet Trimant 4, home to the few surviving members of the Path of the Open Hand. There they discover and take in a young Force-sensitive girl named Zine, who has been keeping her abilities a secret. Her apparent betrayal leads her best friend, Crix, to join the attacking Nile. Markion also abducts an Elder of the Path named Tromac, who leads Rowe to his ancestors' long-lost weapon, the Leveler. The Nile bomb a Republic transport, stranding the young Jedi Knight Vernestra Rowe, her Padawan Imri, and a young crystal researcher named Avon Staros on a nearby planet until they can be rescued. Hyperlanes are temporarily closed for safety, which strands Padawan Reath Silas and a few other Jedi on the ancient Amaxine space station. Believing the Sith statues to be a threat, the Jedi remove them, inadvertently awakening the Drengir. The Nile ally themselves with the creatures, spreading their spores across the Outer Rim to keep the Jedi occupied and distracted. Their attempts to stop the Drengir lead them into a tenuous partnership with the Hutt clans, who are also under attack from the carnivorous plants. A Hutt named Jabba attempts to sabotage the Alliance for his own gain, but his plot is discovered and stopped by the Padawan students of Yoda. With the help of the Hutts, the Jedi are able to track down the Drengir homeworld, and their great progenitor is captured, putting all the other Drengir across the galaxy back into stasis. Chancellor So holds a Republic fair on the planet Valo, inviting citizens across the Outer Rim to share their cultures with one another. The Nile mount a massive strike on the fair. Although the Jedi fight bravely, the attack is devastating. A state-of-the-art science vessel is scuttled and sinks to the bottom of Lake Lanisa on the planet. The Jedi track the Nile back to their base, launching a counter-assault where Loden Greatstorm is being held. He is rescued, but Markion unleashes the Leveler, which turns the Jedi Master to dust. Markion and the rest of the Nile retreat in the confusion. He sacrifices the lives of many of his soldiers to rediscover Planet X, where he is able to gather more of the nameless creatures. A Jedi investigator named Imrit Kaftor joins forces with a private eye named Cyan Holt to learn more about Loden's death. Vernestra, Imri, and Reith team up to investigate reports of a new Nihil weapon called the Gravity's Heart that can disrupt the use of hyperspace. They discover a space station where Vernestra meets Mari Santeca, who gives the Jedi one final hyperspace path before dying. The Jedi and the Republic then destroy the Gravity's Heart. Zine grows close with one of the Padawans that saved her from Triment 4, Lula Talisola. On Takodana, they fight the Nihil alongside Maz Kanata and Sav Malagan, who is now a Jedi Master. One of Marchion Ro's top lieutenants, Lorna D, is captured by the Republic. They mistakenly come to believe that she is the leader of the Nihil and pursue her across the galaxy when she escapes custody. The Jedi Master Avar Kriss becomes obsessed with her capture. She sends the newly promoted Jedi Knight Keeve Trinnis undercover within Nihil ranks to find D, but she is exposed to the Leveler, which nearly kills her. Avon Staros is kidnapped by the Nihil and brought to Dalna. She is forced to use her knowledge of crystals to help engineer a natural disaster to distract the Jedi from a larger attack. She attempts to sabotage their efforts until she is saved by Vernestra, but the planet still suffers catastrophic damage. The Republic uses a luxury starliner called the Halcyon to tow Starlight Beacon through hyperspace to Dalna to offer relief. Lula is given command of a mission to the planet Dalhar Hyde, where she, Zine, and the other Padawans successfully capture Crix. Lula is offered knighthood, but her developing relationship with Zine prevents her from accepting. After a long hunt for Lorna D, Avar Kriss nearly kills the Nihil member, but is pulled back from the brink of darkness by Keeve. They capture Lorna and take her back to Starlight Beacon for questioning. A Nihil scientist named Dr. Uttersond attempts to sell one of the nameless creatures on the black market, but he is caught by Emmerich and Cyan. He explains that they are called the Shriekerei, which translates to Eaters of the Force. With this new information, they also head to Starlight Beacon. The space station travels from system to system in the Outer Rim, offering aid from more Nihil attacks. A team of Nihil are able to sneak aboard with the countless refugees, where they release several Shriekerei. As the Jedi fall victim to their attacks, the Nihil also sabotage Starlight Beacon so that it begins falling toward the planet below, Irem. Avar, Keeve, Emmerich, and Cyan all dock with the station, rescuing as many people as they can, as well as recovering samples of one of the Eaters of the Force. Many Jedi are killed in the disaster, but the Jedi Master Stellan Gios sacrifices his life to ensure Starlight Beacon does not crash into any of Irem's cities. Lorna D takes the chance to escape once again. On Corellia, Reith, Ram, and Yoda work together to thwart Nihil agents who attempt to steal Corellian-built ships so they can attack any reinforcements sent to the remains of the doomed space station. The Jedi Order is recalled from the Outer Rim back to Coruscant to assess the growing danger of the Nihil and the Shriekerei. In their absence, Marchion sets up a network of devices called Storm Seeds, created from the research done on the Gravity's Heart. These new inventions destroy any ship attempting to enter Nihil territory. Marchion announces his intent to take control of whatever piece of the galaxy he pleases, having proven that neither the Republic nor the Jedi can stop him. Several Jedi who defied the recall to Coruscant are stuck behind the storm wall in enemy territory. The Jedi Council activates the Guardian protocols in response to Marchion Ro's aggression. These rules accelerate combat training for younglings, promote Padawans at an early age, and generally prioritize combating the Nihil above all other Jedi duties. The Republic works closely with the Jedi to find a way to break through the storm wall. The Nihil then begin bad faith negotiations with the Republic to be recognized as a sovereign territory of space. When they are rejected, Marchion expands the storm wall, greatly increasing the size of the occlusion zone. From behind enemy lines, Avar Kriss steals a Nihil ship and is able to pilot back into Republic territory. Ram Jomaram is trapped on Valo behind the storm wall. There he takes 3 Jedi younglings under his wing. Together they travel to the bottom of Lake Lanisa, retrieving the scuttled science vessel and its bounty of medical supplies before it can fall into Nihil hands. Vernestra Ro and some allies kidnap a Nihil dignitary who actually aids them in crossing into the occlusion zone. There they discover a new bioweapon being developed that appears to petrify entire worlds. Dissenters within the Nihil help Vernestra and her friends, and they are able to begin smuggling people back into Republic territory. Keeve Trinnis fights the Nihil on the edge of the occlusion zone until she learns that her master, Skier, is stuck behind the storm wall. She steals a Nihil ship and heads into their territory to rescue him. The Nihil begin experimenting on the Shriekerei and hope to test one of their young creations on a prison ship full of captured Jedi. Zine and Lula join Republic and Jedi forces in a rescue attempt. Meanwhile, a friend of the Jedi named Crash infiltrates a Republic prison, planning to assassinate Crix, who was imprisoned after the attack on Corellia. Instead, she breaks him out when she learns that he hopes to betray and murder Marchion Ro. Marchion, his Nihil, and the Nameless are eventually defeated, but the Republic and the Jedi Order are both forever changed by the experiences. For nearly 900 years, the Sith Order remains hidden thanks to the Rule of Two. A string of Jedi murders nearly alert the galaxy to their existence, but they are able to remain hidden. As the Galactic Republic's Golden Age comes to an end, Yoda takes a new Padawan named Dooku. Dooku befriends a fellow student named Sifo Dyas who has visions in the Force. One warns of a deadly solar storm on the planet Proto-Branch. The Jedi Council declines to act on the vision, which comes true, and countless lives are lost. After becoming a Jedi Knight, Dooku takes on a Padawan learner named Qui-Gon Jinn. Together they research the prophecies of ancient Jedi mystics. A Jedi Padawan named Mace Windu travels with his master, Sislin Mur, to the planet Mathas, where they arrest a man taking advantage of the locals by masquerading as a Jedi. Dooku and Qui-Gon are sent on a mission to rescue the kidnapped son of a galactic senator. They soon learn that the kidnappers are simply being mistreated by their corrupt leader. Dooku defends them from the senator and nearly kills him, but is stopped by his Padawan. A Sith apprentice named Darth Sidious kills his master Darth Plagueis in his sleep. Sidious is publicly known as Sheev Palpatine, the Senator of Naboo, and the ultimate goal of Darth Bane's plan is within his grasp. Qui-Gon Jinn is granted the rank of Jedi Knight and is assigned a Padawan named Obi-Wan Kenobi. Mace Windu is sent on a mission to recover a formula for hyperfuel that could prove disastrous if taken by the galaxy's criminal syndicates. Dooku and Mace Windu are sent to Raxus Secundus to recover the body of a murdered Jedi Master. Dooku exceeds the Council's mandate and investigates her death, learning that, again, the senator of the planet had been lining his own pockets at the expense of the people he represented. The Jedi capture and imprison the murderers, but Dooku sympathizes with their fight against corruption. Upon his return to Coruscant, Dooku is passed over for a seat on the Jedi Council, which is instead given to Mace. Dooku peacefully leaves the Jedi Order shortly after, returning to his homeworld Sereno, and takes up his family title of Count, becoming one of the most wealthy men in the galaxy. He is allowed to keep his lightsaber and visit the Jedi Temple whenever he wishes. Shortly after, he is approached by Darth Sidious, who offers him power through the dark side to continue his fight against corruption in the Republic. Dooku begins working with the Sith Lord. Somewhere in the Outer Rim, a slave named Shmi Skywalker gives birth to a fatherless son she names Anakin. He is conceived purely through the will of the cosmic force. Obi-Wan Kenobi struggles to learn under Qui-Gon Jinn. He and his master prepare for a mission to the planet Lenara, but when Qui-Gon doesn't show up, Obi-Wan decides to set out on his own. There he rescues a group of stranded teenagers, and the rebellious act gains the admiration of his teacher. The Mandalorian people experience civil war as Duchess Satine Kryze attempts to shift her people's culture from violence into pacifism. A militant group called Death Watch hopes to assassinate the Duchess, so Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are tasked with her protection. They live on the run for a year, and Obi-Wan and Satine develop romantic feelings for one another. But when the Mandalorian civil war comes to an end, they go back to their separate lives. A Jedi Master named Eno Cordova and his Padawan, Seer Junda, are sent to the planet on Totho to settle a dispute between the locals and an interloping corporation. There, Cordova first encounters a mysterious Force-using species called the Zephos, sparking an obsession that he follows after Seer is elevated to the rank of Jedi Knight. Qui-Gon is offered a seat on the Jedi Council, which would require him to pass Obi-Wan to another Jedi Master. But a successful mission to the planet Pyjal finally proves they are a good team, and Jin receives a vision that convinces him the Jedi prophecies he studied with Dooku are true. He turns down the offer to join the Council to remain with Obi-Wan, more actively serving the galaxy. Darth Sidious meets the Night Sister Mother Talzin on the planet Dathomir and takes her son Maul as his Sith apprentice. At the age of 3, Anakin and his mother become the property of a junk dealer named Watto on the remote desert world Tatooine. On the planet Sheely, a baby Togruta named Ahsoka is born. At the age of 1, she illustrates her Force sensitivity through her connection with nature. Darth Sidious takes his apprentice to Malachor, where Maul witnesses the history of the Sith and is instilled with an intense desire for revenge against the Jedi. When Ahsoka is 3 years old, she is discovered by the Jedi Master Plo Koon, who takes her to train at the Jedi Temple. Sifo Dyas has a vision of galactic war and attempts to warn his fellow Jedi. He is taken off the Jedi Council and dismissed as a warmonger. He takes it upon himself to commission Kaminoan cloners to create an army for the Republic, which catches the attention of Darth Sidious. Dooku orchestrates the death of his old friend at the hands of the Pike Syndicate. The Sith Lords take control of developing the clone army. Darth Maul grows tired of hiding from the Jedi in the shadows. He seeks to test his power against a Jedi Padawan named Eldra Cadis. He battles and kills her, leaving no trail back to the Sith, earning him the praise of his master. The Jedi Order closes several of the outposts they created during the time of the High Republic. During that process, they learn that economic trouble once again plagues the planet Quinn. The entire Jedi Council travels there to celebrate the bicentennial of the Grand Renewal and defeat a group of pirates that hope to claim that area of the Mid-Rim. Darth Sidious orchestrates a blockade of his home planet Naboo at the hands of the Trade Federation. Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi are sent to end the dispute. They rescue Naboo's ruler, Queen Padme Amidala, and are forced to hide on Tatooine, where they meet Anakin Skywalker. Believing the young boy to be the chosen one of Jedi prophecy, Qui-Gon arranges for Anakin's freedom and takes him back to Coruscant. The Galactic Republic's failure to diplomatically solve the problems on Naboo reveals the ineffectiveness of the Senate. Queen Amidala calls for a vote of no confidence on Supreme Chancellor Finis Valorum, and Sheev Palpatine is elected to the position in his place. As Sidious's plans take shape, Dooku visits the Jedi Temple and deletes Kamino from their records to keep the clone army a secret. Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Padme return to Naboo to remove the blockade by force. The Queen allies her people with the Gungans, repairing their broken relationship to defeat the Trade Federation. Darth Sidious sends Maul to openly challenge the Jedi, revealing the existence of the Sith for the first time in 1,000 years. He kills Qui-Gon Jinn, but is then cut in half by Obi-Wan. The Jedi Council allows Kenobi to take Anakin as his Padawan learner, honoring the dying request of Qui-Gon. Dooku mourns the death of his former apprentice at the hands of Maul and confronts Sidious in person. He is followed by the Jedi Master Yaddle, who offers Dooku a chance to return to the light. Instead, he kills Yaddle and cements his place as the next apprentice to Sidious, Darth Tyrannus. A highly skilled Mandalorian bounty hunter named Jango Fett is hired by the Republic to recover a stolen relic from the planet Glian Selm. Tyrannus recruits Fett to become the genetic template for his secret clone army. As part of his compensation, Jango requests an unaltered clone to raise as a son to carry on his legacy and names him Boba Fett. The Kaminoans also create a similar clone, a girl they name Omega. Anakin trains with Obi-Wan for 3 years, proving to be incredibly gifted in the Force. Supreme Chancellor Palpatine takes an interest in the boy, mentoring him and encouraging his thoughts that the Jedi Order will not allow him to reach his full potential. Skywalker considers leaving the Order, but a mission with Kenobi on the war-torn planet Carnelian IV convinces him to stay. After serving 2 full terms as the Queen of Naboo, Padme Amidala is appointed to represent her planet in the Senate. She and her loyal handmaidens, including her body double Sabe, begin making political allies with other senators like Bail Organa of Alderaan and Mon Mothma of Chandrila. On Tatooine, Shmi Skywalker meets Beru Whitesun, who is part of an anti-slavery movement on the planet. She conspires with her boyfriend, Owen Lars, and his father, Klieg Lars, to liberate Shmi from Watto. They are successful, and Shmi marries Klieg. They begin working on a device to help free more slaves across the planet. Count Dooku delivers the Raxus Address and founds the Confederacy of Independent Systems. In what becomes known as the Separatist Crisis, thousands of systems secede from the Republic. In response, the Galactic Senate debates the creation of an army and the Military Creation Act. Padme Amidala and several other senators strongly oppose the bill. Dooku sends Jango Fett to assassinate Padme. He fails thanks to Obi-Wan and Anakin, who are assigned as her protectors. Anakin begins having visions of his mother's kidnapping and death, so he and Padme travel to Tatooine to save her. She dies in his arms, and he slaughters her captors in a rage. Obi-Wan tracks Jango back to Kamino, where he discovers the existence of the clone army. Amidst growing fear of the Separatists, the Galactic Senate grants Chancellor Palpatine emergency powers, and he immediately approves the use of the clones as their military force. The Jedi are given command of the Grand Army of the Republic, and the Clone Wars begin in the Battle of Geonosis. Dooku reveals himself as a Sith in a duel against his old master Yoda. Boba Fett witnesses the death of his father at the hands of Mace Windu. As they spend more time together, Anakin and Padme fall in love and secretly marry. Padme makes contact with the Neimoidians of the Trade Federation in hopes of reaching a diplomatic solution to the conflict. Sabe travels to Tatooine, where she teams up with the anti-slavery network so she can help mass-produce the device Shmi created before dying. A cyborg separatist general named Grievous takes control of droid forces and begins wreaking havoc across the galaxy. Anakin and several other Padawans are promoted to the rank of Jedi Knight to fill leadership positions in the continuing war. Many of them, like Ascata Karis, are not ready to serve as Jedi Knights and struggle to follow the Jedi path in the midst of constant violence. The neutral homeworld of the Neimoidians, Cato Neimoidia, is attacked, and Dooku quickly blames the Republic. Obi-Wan and Anakin travel there to absolve their government, adjusting to life outside of a teacher-student relationship. They find evidence that suggests a third party is manipulating both sides of the war. During their investigation, they battle an assassin and new Sith apprentice to Dooku, a Night Sister named Asajj Ventress. On the planet Christophsis, Anakin leads the 501st Clone Legion with the help of a clone captain named Rex. Ahsoka Tano is sent to the battlefront to become Skywalker's Padawan. They work together to rescue Jabba the Hutt's son, Rada, and deliver him safely to Jabba's headquarters on Tatooine. On Kamino, the clone cadets of Domino Squad struggle to bond and complete their combat training. They eventually succeed thanks to the wisdom of a rejected clone named 99. Domino Squad is sent to guard a Republic station where most of them perish protecting it from Separatist forces. The only two survivors are named Fives and Echo. Mace Windu leads a small Jedi task force to liberate the planet Hisric. One member of the team, Proset Dibbs, realizes the mission is not to protect the lives of Hisric's citizens, but rather to secure its resources. He defiantly ignites his lightsaber against Windu, but is defeated. The Jedi Council places Dibbs under probation, keeping him in custody on Coruscant. A Separatist attack on the Jedi Temple is thwarted by Jedi Master Depa Billaba and a youngling named Caleb Doom. After their victory, she takes him as her Padawan learner. On the planet Ryloth, Mace Windu joins forces with a freedom fighter named Cham Syndulla to defeat droid invaders on the Twi'lek homeworld. Darth Sidious hires the bounty hunter Cad Bane to steal a holocron containing a list of Force-sensitive children from the Jedi archives. He then begins kidnapping the children for the Sith Lord, but Anakin and Ahsoka rescue them all. On the planet Malastare, a massive, nearly indestructible creature called a Zillo Beast is unearthed. The Republic captures it, hoping to study its lightsaber-resistant armor, but it escapes and rampages throughout Coruscant. It is killed, but Palpatine orders its body to be taken to Kamino for cloning. The Republic discovers plans for a new superweapon in the hands of Separatist weapons manufacturers, the Geonosians. Palpatine convinces a small group of engineers into secretly creating the weapon for themselves, but the Kyber-powered superlaser proves to be a challenging breakthrough. On Seleucami, Rex is injured in battle, but recovers thanks to the help of a clone deserter named Cut Lawquane, who believes he has a greater purpose than being a soldier. Amidst growing concerns that Mandalore will join the Separatists, Obi-Wan is sent to meet with Duchess Satine. There he learns that the leader of Death Watch, Pre Vizsla, has possession of the Darksaber and has allied himself with Dooku, hoping to claim leadership of Mandalore for himself. But after Obi-Wan thwarts several Death Watch attacks against Satine, Dooku drops his support of Vizsla. Yoda learns of a new Separatist battle droid called a Mega Droid. They are 4 times the size of a human and covered in lightsaber-resistant metal. The Jedi Grand Master and Anakin Skywalker team up to destroy the factories and defeat a single prototype after its activation. Boba Fett infiltrates a group of young clone cadets and seeks revenge on Mace Windu for killing his father. His assassination attempt fails, and he is taken to Republic prison. Fives and Echo return to Kamino to help defend it from Separatist forces under the leadership of Asajj Ventress. Their heroics earn them a promotion to the rank of ARC Trooper, as well as a spot in the 501st Legion. Padme continues seeking a diplomatic solution to the Clone Wars, working with a Republic-turned-Separatist senator named Mina Bonteri. Ahsoka travels with Padme to the Separatist capital, where she meets Bonteri's son, Lux. Padme and Mina come close to reaching a peace agreement, but Dooku secretly has Bonteri killed and is helped by Palpatine to attack the Republic Senate itself to continue the conflict between the two governments. Wary of Asajj Ventress's growing power, Sidious demands Dooku kill her as a test of loyalty. She escapes the attempt on her life and returns to Mother Talzin on Dathomir. Through Night Sister magic, they empower a Night Brother named Savage Opress and send him to assassinate Dooku. He fails, and Talzin sends him on a new mission to find Maul, who miraculously survived his injuries on Naboo. Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka are led to Mortis by the father, who seeks someone to take his place overseeing the balance of power between the son and the daughter. Anakin proves himself strong enough, but all 3 immensely powerful beings destroy themselves, and the Jedi return to their own realm. Separatists capture a Republic officer named Wilhuff Tarkin, who has critical data on Republic hyperlanes. Anakin, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan rescue him, but the clone Echo dies on the mission. Tarkin and Anakin agree that the Jedi may need to sacrifice their principles to win the Clone Wars. The king of the Waterworld Mon Cala is murdered, leaving his young son Lee Char to lead his people. Separatist forces attack the planet during the transition of power, but the clone army, reinforced by Gungans, defeat the Separatists, allowing Lee Char to take the throne. On the planet Umbara, the 501st Legion falls under the command of Pong Krell, a Jedi who believes Dooku and the Sith will win the Clone Wars. Hoping to gain their favor, he manipulates clone troopers into battle with one another. Rex is able to stop and arrest Krell, but another clone executes him to avenge his fallen brothers. Lux Bonteri allies himself with Pre Vizsla and Death Watch to seek vengeance against Dooku for the murder of his mother. He soon learns how far the ruthless Death Watch will go to achieve their goals, and Ahsoka rescues him from Vizsla's top lieutenant, Bo-Katan. The Jedi learn of a plot to assassinate Chancellor Palpatine. Obi-Wan fakes his death and disguises himself as his supposed killer, keeping the truth from Anakin. In disguise, Obi-Wan is able to prevent the assassination, but Anakin's trust in his friend and the other members of the Jedi Council is shaken. Dooku sends General Grievous to Dathomir to massacre the Night Sisters. Mother Talzin escapes through her magic, but most of the witches are killed. Alone in the galaxy, Asajj takes up a life of bounty hunting, working alongside Boba Fett, who has escaped Republic prison to carry on his father's legacy. Savage Opress finds Maul mentally and physically broken on the junkyard planet Lotho Minor. Mother Talzin's magic restores what's left of his body and mind. Maul blames Obi-Wan for his suffering and lures the Jedi Master into a trap. Kenobi only escapes thanks to help from Asajj, who sought the bounty on the monster she helped create, Savage. Maul then travels to Florum in the headquarters of a pirate named Hondo Ohnaka. Kenobi chases the two Night Brothers there and gravely injures them both with assistance from Ohnaka. Maul and Savage barely escape and are left to drift through space. Separatist forces take control of the planet Onderon from its rightful king. Guerrilla soldiers led by Lux Bonteri and Saw and Stila Guerrera request aid from the Republic. Anakin, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, and Rex help them liberate their world, but Stila is killed in the battle. Maul and Savage are rescued from floating through space by Pre Vizsla. Together, they build up an army of criminal syndicates and successfully capture Duchess Satine, placing Mandalore under Death Watch control. But Maul kills Vizsla, claiming the Darksaber for himself. Bo-Katan denies the Outsiders' leadership and sends a message to Obi-Wan. Kenobi attempts to rescue Satine, but instead Maul kills her in front of him as an act of revenge. Bo-Katan helps Obi-Wan escape, revealing herself to be the sister of the Duchess. Maul's growing power catches the eye of Darth Sidious, who travels to Mandalore, kills Savage, and captures Maul. On Coruscant, Ahsoka is framed for a terrorist attack on the Jedi Temple. The Jedi Council kick her out of the Order to be tried as a citizen of the Republic. Anakin exposes the true murderer, clearing Ahsoka's name, and his Padawan is invited to return as a Jedi Knight, but she refuses the offer and leaves. Anakin's faith in the Jedi Order is once again weakened. A Chiss military commander named Thrawn travels to Batuu on the edge of the known galaxy to learn more about the Clone Wars. There he meets Anakin, who is searching for his missing wife, Padme. They track her down, and together they all shut down a separatist factory. In the midst of a battle, a clone trooper inexplicably murders a Jedi general. An investigation by the Clone Fives reveals the presence of an inhibitor chip in the brains of all clone troopers that can control their actions. He is able to tell Rex and another clone named Kix part of the truth, but is killed before the full conspiracy can be revealed. Kix continues the investigation and learns of a plot to use clone troopers to destroy the Jedi, but he is captured by Dooku and placed in stasis on a separatist cruiser that becomes lost in space. Dooku and Sidious work to destabilize the intergalactic banking clan over the course of the Clone Wars. Palpatine is able to expose the corruption he himself secretly created, leading the Galactic Senate to bring the banks under the direct control of the Chancellor. The Jedi Master Plo Koon stumbles upon the lightsaber of Sifo Dyas, prompting a new investigation into his death. The Jedi learn that Dooku had his old friend murdered, and that he oversaw the creation of the clone army from that point forward. The spirit of Qui-Gon reaches out to Yoda from the netherworld of the Force, leading him to the planet Dagobah and the Wellspring of Life, where he begins to learn how to retain his consciousness after death. The Jedi Council gravely decides the fastest way to end the Clone Wars would be Dooku's assassination. They give the job to Quinlan Vos, who allies himself with Asajj Ventress. The two fall in love on their mission, but Quinlan falls to the dark side the closer he gets to Dooku. But he returns to the light after Asajj sacrifices her life to save his own. Somehow, she returns to life. Mandalorians loyal to Maul rescue him from a separatist prison. Dooku, Grievous, and Sidious chase him throughout the galaxy until he leads them back to Mother Talzin, who is then killed by Grievous while Maul escapes. Ahsoka struggles to survive in the underworld of Coruscant, learning what life is like for everyday citizens of the Republic. She meets the Martez sisters, Trace and Rafa, who illustrate the ways in which the Jedi Order have lost touch with the people they are meant to protect. Cad Bane begins mentoring Boba Fett to become the best bounty hunter in the galaxy. The younger Fett begins wearing his father's repainted Mandalorian armor. A group of genetically mutated clones called Clone Force 99 take on special assignments for the Republic. They learn the clone trooper Echo was captured instead of killed by separatist forces and rescue him. Echo, who is now a cyborg, joins the team of unique clones who are also known as the Bad Batch. Maul regroups on Mandalore, starting a new criminal syndicate he calls Crimson Dawn. Bo-Katan finds Ahsoka Tano on Coruscant and asks for the former Jedi's help in removing him from power. Obi-Wan and Anakin offer her the support of Rex and several other members of the 501st, but are recalled to Coruscant before the attack can begin. Ahsoka, Bo-Katan, and the clones successfully capture Maul in the Siege of Mandalore. The planet falls under Republic occupation. Anakin and Obi-Wan return to Coruscant to find it under siege. They foil the kidnapping of Chancellor Palpatine, and Anakin kills Count Dooku in the process. Obi-Wan travels to Utapau, where he destroys General Grievous, leaving the Confederacy of Independent Systems without a leader. Padme reveals she is pregnant with Anakin's child, and he begins to have visions of her death. Desperate to save her, and in the absence of both Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, he seeks advice from Palpatine. He reveals the truth that he is a Sith Lord and that he has the power to save Padme. Anakin joins Sidious, helps kill Mace Windu, and becomes the Sith apprentice Darth Vader for a chance to save his wife. Anakin leads an attack on the Jedi Temple, killing even the younglings, but one girl named Reva barely survives and escapes. A Jedi Master and teacher named Kelleran Beck flees the temple and Coruscant with a young Jedi child named Grogu. During the assault, Sidious issues Order 66 to all clones, a command which triggers their chips to wipe out the Jedi. Within moments, most of the Jedi Order is destroyed. The mutations of Clone Force 99 prevent their chips from working, and they witness the death of Depa Billaba while she protects her Padawan, Caleb Dume. The Bad Batch's leader, Hunter, allows Caleb to flee. Above the scrapyard world Bracca, a Jedi Master named Jaro Tapal also gives his life to allow his Padawan, Cal Kestis, to reach an escape pod down to the planet, where he goes into hiding. Iskata Karis is spared from Order 66 and offered a chance to join the new Galactic Order by turning her back on the Jedi. While transporting Maul back to the Republic, Ahsoka is attacked by Rex and the other clones. She is able to incapacitate Rex and remove his chip. Maul sabotages their ship and escapes, but Ahsoka and Rex also survive. Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda escape their clones and secretly return to Coruscant, where they find the terrible evidence of Anakin's fall and betrayal. Darth Vader is sent to Mustafar to assassinate the remaining leaders of the Confederacy of Independent Systems. With their deaths, the Clone Wars come to an end. Having no one left to oppose him, Palpatine transforms the Republic into the First Galactic Empire and proclaims himself Emperor of the Galaxy to thunderous applause. Obi-Wan stows away on Padme's ship as she travels to Mustafar to confront her husband. Misunderstanding Kenobi's presence as a betrayal, he attacks her. Darth Vader duels his former master, who leaves him dismembered and badly burned, but clinging to life. Yoda faces Darth Sidious in battle, but is beaten and goes into exile on Dagobah. Padme dies giving birth to twins she names Luke and Leia. Bail Organa adopts Leia and takes her to his home on Alderaan. Obi-Wan takes Luke to live with his aunt and uncle on Tatooine. Darth Sidious rescues Darth Vader from certain death on Mustafar, but he is forced to wear a biomechanical suit to survive. Sidious tells Vader that Padme and his child are dead. Bail sees Ahsoka at Padme's funeral on Naboo. He offers her a comlink if she ever needs his help. Sabe is suspicious of Padme's death and begins an investigation into the truth. Having survived Order 66, Seer Junda and her Padawan, Trilla Siduri, take several Jedi younglings into their care. After being recalled to Kamino, the Bad Batch meet the young clone Omega. Unwilling to blindly follow the new Empire's orders, they flee, but one of their members, Crosshair, stays behind. The Kaminoans require Omega to continue their cloning programs for the Empire, so they send Crosshair and bounty hunters to find her. Darth Vader hunts down a Jedi who did not take part in the Clone Wars, kills him, and constructs a new Sith lightsaber with his Kyber crystal. He is then placed in command of the Empire's Jedi hunters known as the Inquisitorius. They are made up of fallen Jedi like Proset Dibs and Iskata Karis. The Inquisitors are tasked with the continued pursuit and destruction of any surviving members of the Jedi Order. Vader's second-in-command, the Grand Inquisitor, discovers Reva, whose desire for revenge against Anakin has kept her alive. She is admitted into the Inquisitorius, becoming the third sister. The Jedi's chief archivist, Jocasta Nu, survives Order 66 and returns to the Jedi Archives to recover the list of Force-sensitive children hidden away in a secret vault. She is caught and killed, but the list is destroyed and kept safe from the Empire. The vault is left open, and the Emperor discovers several ancient relics, including the helmet of the Sith Lord Momin. Palpatine converts the Jedi Temple into his new Imperial Palace. Rex finds the Bad Batch and helps them remove their inhibitor chips on a derelict ship on Bracca. There, Omega is captured by Cad Bane, but an up-and-coming bounty hunter named Fennec Shand interferes with his delivery and Omega escapes. Clone Force 99 witnesses the Imperial subjugation of the Twi'lek people on Ryloth. Cham Syndulla is taken prisoner, and the Bad Batch rescues him at the request of Cham's daughter, Hera. Their mission is successful when several clone troopers are able to break free of their inhibitor chips programming. The Empire begins transitioning their army from clone troopers into TK troopers made up of conscripts and volunteers. Kamino's cities and cloning facilities are destroyed by Imperial troops, but one Kaminoan scientist named Nala Se is taken to a new installation called Mount Tantus. There, the Empire experiments with Force-sensitive blood and what they call Project Necromancer. Their goal is to clone a suitable vessel for Emperor Palpatine's spirit, which would effectively give him immortality. Caleb Dume lives on the run, abandoning his Jedi teachings to remain hidden. He changes his name to Kanan Jarrus. The Empire's superweapon, which comes to be known as the Death Star, continues construction over the planet Geonosis. A brilliant kyber crystal scientist named Galen Erso is manipulated into designing its superlaser. The Inquisitors learn of a Jedi building a small following on Mon Cala, so Darth Vader leads an attack on the planet. The Jedi is killed, but one of his followers, named Verla, escapes. The Mon Calamari king, Lee Char, is taken captive by the Empire. Ahsoka hides on the Outer Rim planet Rayata for a year until she is tracked down by an Inquisitor. She defeats him to protect her village and purifies his 2 red kyber crystals into white blades. She then contacts Bail Organa to rejoin the fight against the Empire, taking up the codename Fulcrum. Emperor Palpatine frames clone troopers for the destruction of Kamino, prompting the Imperial Senate to pass the Defense Recruitment Bill, legally replacing clone troopers with stormtroopers. Echo leaves Clone Force 99 to join Rex in his mission to help secure a future for all clones. Seer Junda is captured by the Empire and tortured into giving up the location of her Padawan and the other younglings. Trilla is taken and tortured until she joins the Inquisitorius, becoming the second sister. During transport to Mount Tantus, a clone of the Zillo Beast escapes and wreaks havoc on a small village. The Bad Batch witnesses its recapture by the Empire. Crosshair finally turns on the Empire and is taken to Mount Tantus, where experiments are conducted on several clone troopers and Force-sensitive children. He is interrogated by Dr. Hemlock, who wants to find Omega after learning her blood is essential to the success of Project Necromancer. Crosshair resists, but when the rest of Clone Force 99 discover Crosshair's capture, they infiltrate Grand Moff Tarkin's homeworld base to find his location. Saw Gerrera attacks the installation at the same time, ruining the Bad Batch's mission. One of the clones, Tech, sacrifices his life to save the rest of his family. But the survivors are betrayed by an ally. Hemlock captures Omega and brings her to Mount Tantus. She is kept there for months until she and Crosshair are able to escape with the help of Nala Se. They reunite with the Bad Batch, but the Empire relentlessly hunts Omega. She turns herself over and returns to Tantus in an effort to save her friends and family. Back inside, she plans to escape again with several imprisoned children, while the rest of Clone Force 99 work to reach Tantus themselves. In the Chiss Ascendancy, Thrawn combats a new threat to his people, a mysterious species called the Grisk, who work to create a civil war between the 9 Chiss ruling families. Thrawn outwits a Grisk commander in battle, but knowing the powerful enemy will one day return, he exiles himself from the Ascendancy, hoping to make new allies in the known galaxy. Galen Erso discovers his kyber research is for a superlaser that has the power to destroy entire planets, and flees with his family to the Outer Rim with the help of Saw Gerrera. Thrawn is discovered by the Empire and uses his knowledge of Anakin Skywalker to gain an audience with the Emperor, where he speaks of the threats of the unknown regions. Palpatine is impressed with the man and allows him to join the Imperial Navy. Cham Syndulla leads a growing resistance movement on Ryloth. Darth Vader and the Emperor personally visit the planet, survive an assassination attempt, and kill many of Cham's soldiers. Cal Kestis remains hidden on Braca, joining and serving the Scrappers Guild. After using the Force to save the life of a friend, the second sister hunts him down. He is saved by Seer Junda, and together they attempt to track down a holocron containing another copy of the list of Force-sensitive children, which was hidden by Eno Cordova during his research into the Zepho. Cal finds the list and destroys it once and for all to keep the younglings safe from the Empire. The second sister is killed by Darth Vader for her failure. Wilhuff Tarkin is tasked with protecting the Death Star's secrecy. He and Darth Vader reveal an informant within the Empire and eliminate him. His success earns him a promotion to the rank of Grand Moff, the first of the Empire. Galen Erso remains hidden with his family for 4 years, but is located by his former colleague, the Imperial Director of Advanced Weapons Research, Orson Krennic. Galen's wife is killed during his capture, leaving his daughter, Jyn Erso, in the care of Saw Gerrera. On Corellia, a young orphan named Han survives as a member of the White Worm Gang. He falls in love with a fellow scrum rat named Kira, and they attempt to escape their miserable lives, but Kira is caught and sold to Crimson Dawn, which is still controlled by Maul. Han desperately joins the Imperial Academy to quickly flee Corellia. As part of the Empire, he butts heads with authority and his fellow students. One of them, named Bylert Valance, is shot down and injured on a mission, but Han defies orders to rescue him. Valance is given cybernetic parts to help him recover, but he is considered damaged goods by the Empire and forced out of service. He becomes a bounty hunter under the mentorship of Nakano Lash. On Corellia, the criminal syndicate Mourner's Whale hires Boba Fett, Lash, and her team to fight against their rival, the Unbroken Clan. Nakano betrays and kills their client to rescue a child named Cadelia, who would become the heir to both criminal syndicates. The incident damages Boba Fett's reputation and puts a price on her head, so she goes into hiding. Qi'ra rises through the ranks of Crimson Dawn under the mentorship of one of its top lieutenants, Dryden Voss. Once she has proven herself, she is allowed to meet Maul. After 7 years of hunting by the Inquisitorius, the list of surviving Jedi grows thin. Darth Vader notices Ascata Karis developing a relationship with a fellow Inquisitor. With no one else to fight, he chases them through Coruscant and kills them. The Emperor offers his apprentice a planet to rule to keep him occupied away from the Imperial capital. Vader chooses Mustafar and builds a fortress there with the help of Momin's helmet, which is able to possess anyone who wears it. The fortress is designed to reach the netherworld of the Force, where Vader hopes to resurrect Padme. Momin betrays Vader and resurrects himself instead, but is quickly destroyed. On the ancient Sith world Exegol, Palpatine continues the difficult work of Project Necromancer. A non-identical and non-Force-sensitive clone named Dathan is created as one of the experiments. Cal grows closer with his newfound family, which includes Seer, their pilot Grease, a night sister named Marin, and their droid BD-1. They fight the Empire where they can and are briefly hunted by an Inquisitor known as the Fifth Brother. After 8 years of living in hiding, Canon has become a drunk freighter pilot. He meets Hera Syndulla and sobers up to protect a small planet in the Outer Rim from an Imperial captain named Ray Sloan. After a public display of his abilities in the Force, Canon leaves with Hera on her ship, the Ghost. A gambler named Lando Calrissian and his droid partner, L337, aboard their ship, the Millennium Falcon, unknowingly discover the construction of a mysterious device that will later be known as the Phalanx Redux Transmitter. They share a number of adventures that Lando documents as the Calrissian Chronicles. When they help a group of slaves escape Imperial custody, the Falcon is impounded on the planet Vandor, so Lando heads there to find a way to break it out. After 3 years in the Imperial Army, Han Solo meets a Wookiee named Chewbacca on the planet Mimban. They escape the Empire with a group of thieves led by a man named Beckett who works for Crimson Dawn. On Vandor, they attempt to rob an Imperial shipment of hyperfuel, which would earn them enough credits to retire. The job fails thanks to the interference of a rebel sympathizer named Enfys Nest. They return to Crimson Dawn empty-handed, and Han is reunited with Qi'ra. The thieves agree to steal more hyperfuel from the planet Kessel to regain Crimson Dawn's favor. Qi'ra joins them, they hire Lando, and break the Millennium Falcon out of lockup. The Kessel run is successful, but Han and Chewie decide the hyperfuel would be better off in the hands of Enfys Nest. L3 and Beckett are killed on the job, and Qi'ra kills Dryden Voss, moving further into Crimson Dawn ranks to protect Han from Maul. Having fallen in love with the ship, Han seeks out Lando and wins the Millennium Falcon from him in a game of sabacc. The Death Star's construction is moved from Geonosis to the planet Scarif, and the Geonosian species is nearly exterminated by the Empire. Obi-Wan Kenobi spends 10 years watching over Luke Skywalker while the third sister continues her quest for vengeance against Darth Vader. She hopes to lure Kenobi out of hiding, and so she kidnaps the daughter of his old ally, Bail Organa, completely unaware that Leia is Anakin's child. Obi-Wan rescues her with the help of a group called the Hidden Path, who secretly protect Jedi survivors and other Force sensitives. Kenobi learns that Darth Vader survived his injuries on Mustafar, and they battle for a second time. Reva fails to exact her revenge, leaves the Inquisitorius, and returns to the light side of the Force. Obi-Wan returns to Tatooine, where he protects Luke and the Lars family from many dangers, including Tusken Raiders, gangsters, and a Wookiee bounty hunter named Kersantin. Cal Kestis continues his fight against the Empire as one of the last remaining Jedi in the galaxy. He reunites with Seer Junda, who is now part of the Hidden Path on Jedha. Cal unwittingly finds and releases Dagan Gera on Kobo and learns about Tanalorr. Realizing the secret world would be a perfect safe house for the Hidden Path, Cal is forced to battle and kill Dagan to reach it and keep it safe. After learning of the Hidden Path during the hunt for Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Empire attacks Jedha and Darth Vader kills Seer. Cal is able to reach Tanalorr and establish a safe house for the Path, but the victory comes at great personal cost. Han Solo and Chewbacca begin working as smugglers for Jabba. They compete with other mercenaries to recover the neural core of Ajax Sigma. After successfully retrieving it, Han decides to bury and hide the droid brain. A young archaeology student named Chelly Afra forms an on-again off-again relationship with a fellow student named Sana Staros, a descendant of Avon Staros. Jyn Erso fights with Saw Gerrera and his partisans until he leaves her helpless in the middle of a battle. 16 years old and alone, she is forced to live a life of crime to survive. Over the course of several years, Thrawn uses his tactical genius to gain promotion after promotion. A mysterious antiquities dealer named Luthen Rael secretly builds a network of rebel cells, including Saw Gerrera's partisans. They are funded by Senator Mon Mothma, who is watched closely by the Imperial Security Bureau. Luthen hires a low-level thief named Cassian Andor to help steal millions of Imperial credits on Aldhani, causing the Empire to tighten their grip on the galaxy. Cassian sees that victory against the Empire is possible and joins Luthen's network of spies. On the Outer Rim planet Lothal, a teenaged orphan named Ezra Bridger meets Kanan, Hera, her droid Chopper, and the crew of the Ghost, which is expanded to include a Mandalorian named Sabine Wren and a Lasat named Zeb. Kanan recognizes the boy to be Force-sensitive and begins training him as a Jedi. Hera's small rebel cell receives instructions from the mysterious agent known as Fulcrum. Their missions attract the attention of the Inquisitors. The crew of the Ghost take control of an Imperial communications tower on Lothal, and Ezra transmits a message of rebellion throughout the Outer Rim. Kanan is captured by the Grand Inquisitor in the process and taken to Mustafar. The Ghost crew mounts a rescue mission that sees the death of the Grand Inquisitor. The mission succeeds thanks to assistance from Bail Organa and Fulcrum, who reveals her true identity to Hera as Ahsoka Tano. She brings the Ghost crew into Phoenix Group, part of the growing rebellion. After the death of the Grand Inquisitor, Darth Vader begins the hunt for Kanan and Ezra. Through the Force, he learns of Ahsoka's survival. In need of help, she finds her old friend, the aging clone Rex, who also joins their rebel cell. At the age of 16, Leia Organa becomes a junior legislator in the Imperial Senate and learns that both her adoptive parents and Mon Mothma are part of the growing insurgency against the Empire. She also joins the rebellion while maintaining her public position as an Imperial senator. Phoenix Group are chased by Darth Vader and his Inquisitors throughout the galaxy until they settle on a remote planet called Atollon. Ahsoka, Kanan, and Ezra travel to the Sith Temple on Malachor, hoping to find a way to defeat the Sith and remain hidden. There they find Maul, who became stranded on the ruined world after losing control of Crimson Dawn. He befriends Ezra and briefly allies himself with his old enemy Ahsoka before attacking and blinding Kanan and escaping. At the heart of the temple, Ezra discovers a holocron. Darth Vader tracks them to Malachor, and Ahsoka distracts her old master long enough to allow Kanan and Ezra to flee. Han Solo takes a job that involves the Phalanx Redux transmitter that Lando encountered years earlier. He acquires it for a short time, but is forced to abandon it to float through space. Thrawn is promoted to the rank of Grand Admiral in the Imperial Navy and is tasked with the destruction of Phoenix Group. Sabine Wren infiltrates the Imperial Skystrike Academy and extracts two defectors named Wedge Antilles and Hobby Clivian. Ezra is drawn to the Sith holocron he took from Malachor. Maul uses it to lure him to Dathomir, where he is able to harness its power to learn that Obi-Wan Kenobi survived the Clone Wars. Kanan and Sabine rescue Ezra, and Maul leaves the Darksaber behind in his retreat. Hearing rumors of an Imperial construction at Geonosis, Phoenix Group investigates to find the planet and its facilities abandoned. They rendezvous with Saw Gerrera on the surface, but fail to learn more. Sabine Wren takes up the Darksaber and learns to wield it with training from Kanan and Ezra. She returns to Mandalorian space, hoping to unite her people against Imperial control. Mon Mothma publicly denounces Emperor Palpatine in the Imperial Senate, making her an enemy of the state. Hera and the crew of the Ghost escort her to Dantooine, where she delivers a speech, rallying the many individual rebel cells into a truly unified movement. Maul tracks Obi-Wan to Tatooine and realizes the aging master is protecting someone of great importance. They duel one last time, and Maul dies in his rival's arms. Grand Admiral Thrawn discovers the rebel base on Atollon and launches a massive attack. Phoenix Group is forced to relocate to a new headquarters on Yavin 4. The Emperor then sends Thrawn and Darth Vader to Batuu, where they first met. They investigate a new potential threat to the Empire, which turns out to be the Grisk, who have successfully begun a civil war among the Chiss in Thrawn's absence. Cassian Andor travels to the planet Wakeko to steal Imperial security data. He encounters and reprograms a security droid designated K2SO, bringing him back to the Rebellion. Darth Vader becomes the target of an assassination plot led by Bylert Valance, who was hired by a rebel cell. The attempt is foiled thanks to another bounty hunter named Dengar, who served as a spy within the team. Valance negotiates his freedom by leading Vader to the people that hired him. The Ghost crew travels to Mandalore to help Sabine launch an attack on the Imperial-controlled capital city. They are aided by Bo-Katan, and after their victory, Sabine passes the Darksaber to the only surviving member of House Kryze and returns to her family on the Ghost. A group of droids discover the long-buried neural core of Ajax Sigma and begin to rebuild him. Saw Gerrera investigates Imperial interest in kyber crystals, believing them to be building a massive weapon. His growing militancy and extremism place a divide between the partisans and the rest of the Rebel Alliance. Thrawn returns to Lothal and begins manufacturing a new starfighter called the TIE Defender. He is called away again to keep his project's budget from being reallocated to the Death Star. While he is away, the crew of the Ghost destroy the factory, but Kanan sacrifices his life to save the rest from certain death. Elsewhere on the planet, the Empire begins excavating an ancient Jedi temple. Ezra infiltrates the dig site and discovers a mysterious realm known as the World Between Worlds that exists outside of space and time. He is able to see Ahsoka's duel with Darth Vader on Malachor and rescues her from a killing blow. They stop the Emperor from gaining access to the World Between Worlds and return to their own times. Emboldened, Ezra leads one final mission against the Imperial occupation of Lothal. He and the rest of the Ghost crew are successful, but Ezra is lost when he summons a pod of Purrgil to jump Grand Admiral Thrawn and his fleet through hyperspace to some unknown location. Darth Vader learns of the Mustafarian relic, the Bright Star, and believes he can use it to resurrect Padme. He captures a smuggler who is the last living descendant of Lady Corvax and the only person who can access the Bright Star's power, but the smuggler destroys the relic and escapes. Their actions allow Mustafar's ecosystem to begin healing. As the Death Star nears completion, Saw Gerrera travels to Jedha to investigate the Imperial plunder of kyber crystals from several sacred sites. His presence turns the Holy City into a war zone. Two Guardians of the Whills named Baze and Chirrut help evacuate several orphaned children from the violence. Galen Erso tells an Imperial cargo pilot named Bodhi Rook that the kyber crystals are meant for a planet killer and sends him to Jedha with a message for his old friend Saw. Word of the supposed superweapon reaches the Rebel Alliance. Cassian Andor and K2SO track down Jen Erso, hoping to use her to gain an audience with Saw. On Jedha, they learn of the Death Star, and Galen's message reveals that he has planted a weakness in the station's reactor. The superweapon arrives on Jedha under the command of Grand Moff Tarkin. Its first test shot destroys the Holy City, killing Saw Gerrera and most of his partisans, but Cassian, Jyn, and K2SO escape with Bodhi, Chirrut, and Baze. They all lead an attack on the Imperial planet Scarif, where the Death Star plans are held. Mon Mothma sends reinforcements, making the Battle of Scarif the first large-scale act of open war against the Empire as a truly unified Rebel Alliance. Jyn, Cassian, K2SO, and the rest of their team give their lives to steal the plans, which are passed to Leia Organa. She attempts to reach Obi-Wan Kenobi for help, but Darth Vader's ship catches her in orbit above Tatooine. Leia gives the plans to two droids, R2-D2 and C-3PO, and sends them in an escape pod to the planet below. They accidentally make their way to Luke Skywalker instead, who delivers them to Obi-Wan. The aging Jedi Master reveals that he was friends with Luke's father and passes Anakin's lightsaber to the younger Skywalker. When stormtroopers kill his aunt and uncle, Luke decides to learn about the Force and travel with Kenobi to Alderaan. They hire the Millennium Falcon for transportation, promising Han Solo and Chewbacca enough credits to pay off a sizable debt they've accumulated after years of working for Jabba the Hutt. Leia refuses to tell Darth Vader the location of the Rebel headquarters, so Grand Moff Tarkin orders the destruction of Alderaan, killing Bail and Breha Organa and every being on the planet as a warning to any world that dares defy the Empire. When the Millennium Falcon arrives in the system, it is captured by the Death Star. Luke, Han, and Chewie rescue Leia and escape, but Obi-Wan confronts Darth Vader for the third time and becomes one with the Force, passing on the fate of the galaxy to the Skywalker twins. Leia delivers the Death Star plans to Yavin 4 and the Empire tracks them to the base. Luke joins the Rebels' attack on the superweapon. He uses the Force to make an impossible shot that exploits the weakness placed in the Death Star's reactor by Galen Erso. It's destroyed, Grand Moff Tarkin is killed, but Darth Vader survives. The Rebels are forced to flee their headquarters on Yavin 4, and Leia races across the galaxy to unite surviving Alderaanians, keeping them safe from the Empire. Han is given enough credits to pay off his debts, but he loses it all when he attempts to make even more money on a mission for the Rebels, and so he and Chewie continue helping the Alliance, rescuing spies whose covers were compromised in the wake of the Battle of Yavin. Luke also remains with the Rebellion, aiding operatives across the galaxy and continuing his Jedi training as best he can without a mentor. On the planet Deveron, he finds the ruins of a Jedi temple where he is able to improve his mastery with his lightsaber. Hera Syndulla gives birth to a son she names Jason, who inherits abilities in the Force from his father, Canon. Lando Calrissian continues his life as a scoundrel and gambler. He joins a heist to steal a ship that is supposedly full of priceless art. They discover the collection to be Sith in origin, belonging to Emperor Palpatine himself. Momin's helmet is on board, and when it begins possessing members of the team, Lando destroys the ship and escapes with his friend Lobot. Chewbacca makes a dangerous trip back to his homeworld Kashyyyk. Along the way, his ship is damaged and he crash lands on the planet Andelm 4, where he helps free a number of slaves. The loss of the Death Star inspires Imperial Admiral Garrick Versio to build an elite team of soldiers dubbed Inferno Squad. His daughter, Iden Versio, successfully leads them on their first mission to find, infiltrate, and destroy some of the surviving members of Saw Gerrera's partisans, including Lux Bonteri. A rebel spy on Coruscant named Ineb Ray is sent to assassinate the Emperor. He fails and is horribly scarred by Palpatine's Force lightning. Having learned the truth that Palpatine is a Sith Lord, he begins a crusade to murder Imperials. Luke, Leia, Han, and Chewie attack a major Imperial weapons facility on Cymoon 1. There, Luke runs into and escapes Darth Vader, who recognizes his former lightsaber in the hands of the young rebel. Luke visits Obi-Wan Kenobi's home on Tatooine and recovers his old journals, using them to learn more about the Jedi. Sana Starros seeks out Han, looking for her share of a payment he stole from her on a previous job. She meets Leia and begins working for the rebellion as a mercenary. Vader hires Boba Fett to investigate Luke's past and learns that his last name is Skywalker. Realizing the Emperor has deceived him for nearly 20 years, Darth Vader begins a secret war against his master. He enlists the help of Dr. Aphra to create a droid army he can use against Sidious. Displeased with his apprentice's recent failures, the Emperor begins testing Vader against several new technologically enhanced rivals created by an Imperial scientist named Silo. He races against them to find Luke, catching up with the rebellion above the planet Vrogus Vas. He and his son both crash land on the planet, and countless rebel soldiers are struck down as they try to kill Darth Vader. One of his rivals interferes with Luke's capture. Vader kills him with Aphra's help, but she is arrested by the rebels and taken to their secret prison, Sunspot Station. Ineb Ray's killing spree leads him to Sunspot as well. He attempts to kill all the prisoners held there until he is stopped by Leia. Aphra escapes in the chaos and goes into hiding, fearing Vader's retribution. After the events of Vrogus Vas, a team of specialized stormtroopers called Scar Squadron is sent to hunt down Luke and his friends. The royal leaders of the Imperial Industrial World, Shu Torun, begin an uprising against the Empire. Vader is sent to destroy them with the help of the youngest member of the royal family, Trios. After their victory, she takes the throne as Queen of the planet. Silo and his technologically enhanced allies attempt a coup by stealing the newly constructed Super Star Destroyer, Executor. Vader defeats Silo and his minions. Pleased with the victory, Palpatine awards his apprentice with command of the Imperial fleet with the Executor as his flagship. Luke, Leia, and Han lead a rebel mission to steal a Star Destroyer called the Harbinger so they can break an Imperial blockade and deliver supplies to a starving planet. They are barely successful after coming face to face with Scar Squadron. Dr. Aphra returns to archaeology with the help of the Wookiee bounty hunter Kersantin and her two murderous droids, 000 and BT-1. They track down the ancient fortress of the Ordu Aspectu and recover the memory crystal of Rur. Hoping to reactivate it, she manipulates Luke into gaining an audience with the immensely powerful Queen of the Screaming Citadel. She activates the crystal and is killed shortly after trying to infect Luke with a parasite. Aphra attempts to sell the memory crystal on the black market, but Rur begins possessing droids and massacring the potential buyers. 000 betrays Aphra and alerts Darth Vader to her whereabouts. He then forces her to release him as her servant to help her escape certain death. Vader arrives and defeats the technological ghost of Rur, hiding the ancient memory crystal in an Imperial vault. The Empire begins construction on a second Death Star and travels to the ashes of Jedha to harvest more Kyber crystals. Luke, Leia, Han, and Chewie help the final remaining survivors of Saw Gerrera's partisans defend the moon. Queen Trios offers her services to Leia as an informant. Aphra helps 000 recover his long-lost memories, but she encrypts them and gets herself arrested by the Empire to once again avoid certain death. On a prison ship, she meets the Mad Dr. Cornelius Evazan, who helps her escape. He then captures 000 and places bombs inside the bodies of Aphra and the droid, simply because he thinks it will be entertaining to watch them work together to survive. Dropped on the law-obsessed planet Milvain, they completely disrupt its people's way of life as they disarm the bombs. The uprising they create catches the attention of the Empire's propaganda machine. The rebellion searches for a new permanent headquarters and investigates the planet Crate, which was once used as a hideout by Bail Organa. They are discovered and attacked by Scar Squadron, forcing them to stay on the move. Hoping to find allies in the shipbuilders of Mon Cala, Luke and the others take on a mission to break their king, Lee Char, out of Imperial prison. He is killed in the process, but delivers a stirring speech to his subjects who liberate their fleet and join the rebellion. Alliance High Command gathers at a space station near Mako Ta. Queen Trios betrays Leia, calling in the Imperial fleet. Luke Skywalker forms Rogue Squadron to cover the rebel retreat, which is named after Jyn Erso and the team that stole the Death Star plans. Despite his efforts, many top leaders of the rebellion are killed. Leia plans a counterattack against Queen Trios, which will remove Shu-Torun as industrial assets to the Empire. They successfully disable the planet's manufacturing capabilities with minimal loss of life, and Leia kills Trios in self-defense. Shortly after, they join what remains of the rebellion at their new hidden base on the ice planet Hoth. The Empire's head propagandist surprisingly recruits Aphra in a coup against the Empire. The rogue archaeologist instead double-crosses her to Darth Vader, who spares her life, but puts her to work searching for the rebels. She quickly learns about the base on Hoth, but scrambles the information to buy the rebellion more time before she once again escapes the Empire. The secret base on Hoth is eventually discovered by the Empire, once again forcing the rebels to evacuate and scatter across the galaxy. Luke is led to Dagobah by the spirit of Obi-Wan Kenobi, where he trains under the Jedi Master Yoda. Darth Vader hires Boba Fett to capture Han and Leia so he can use them as bait to trap Luke and turn him to the dark side. While on the run, Han and Leia fall in love. They decide to seek help from Lando Calrissian, who has become the owner of a Tabana gas mine called Cloud City. Boba Fett anticipates the move, and Darth Vader forces Lando to betray Han before he and Leia even arrive. Han is frozen in carbonite and taken by Boba Fett to collect the bounty on his head set by Jabba the Hutt. Luke abandons his training with Yoda to save his friends, but is badly beaten in a duel with Vader, losing his hand and his lightsaber. Vader reveals that he is Luke's father, Anakin Skywalker. He asks his son to help him overthrow the Emperor, but Luke instead makes a daring escape from Cloud City with Lando and Leia. Darth Vader begins to seek revenge upon the people that conspired to hide his son from him. His investigation leads him to Padmé's former body double, Sabe, and the rest of Padmé's handmaidens, who lead him into a trap. He survives with ease, but spares their lives. Disappointed by the show of mercy, Palpatine badly wounds Vader and pits him against an assassin named Ochi of Bestoon. Again, Vader handily defeats Ochi and forces him to reveal the location of the Emperor's secret facilities on Exegol. Deep in the unknown regions, Vader witnesses the extent of the Emperor's power and resources. Believing victory against his master is impossible, he once again commits himself to the dark side. As they depart, the clone Dathan stows away on a ship, making his way into the known galaxy to start a life for himself. Alliance communication codes are broken by the Imperial commander Zara, preventing the rebel fleet from gathering. Luke, Leia, and Lando return to Cloud City to rescue Lobot and make sure the gas mine can't be used to the Empire's advantage. Luke fails to find his lost lightsaber, but a vision in the Force leads him to Verla, who survived an encounter with Darth Vader on Mon Cala years prior. She tells him where he can find a replacement saber. There, Luke is attacked by the trapped spirit of the Grand Inquisitor, who is mystically bound to Darth Vader's will even in death. The young Skywalker defeats the Ghost and takes up a new weapon. Meanwhile, Leia works to create communication codes the Empire can't crack with the help of task forces led by Shara Bey and Kez Dameron. Dr. Aphra is hired by an eccentric art collector named Ronan Tag to find legendary relics called the Rings of Vale. She succeeds, but Ronan betrays her, so Aphra nearly kills him during her escape. This catches the attention of Domina Tag, Ronan's aunt and head of the Tag Corporation, who forces Aphra to recover an old Nile hyperdrive that could bring great fortune to the company. Aphra teams up with her ex, Sana Starros, to recover the artifact, only to learn that it's a fake. Nakano Lash resurfaces with Cordelia. Valance seeks her out to protect her from Boba Fett, who postpones his delivery of Han Solo to seek revenge for her betrayal years ago. He succeeds, but Nakano passes the protection of Cordelia on to Valance. He delivers her to his former lover Urala for safekeeping in her rebel cell. Boba Fett's detour causes a malfunction in Han's carbonite slab, which starts to degrade. He gets it repaired on the smuggler's moon Narshada, where it is stolen by members of Crimson Dawn. Now under Kira's control, she hopes to reintroduce her criminal syndicate to the galaxy by auctioning Solo off to the highest bidder. Valance catches wind of Han's plight. Remembering how the smuggler once saved his life, he heads to the auction hoping to return the favor. Several criminal syndicates take part in the auction, including the Hutt Council, who are furious at the theft of Jabba's property. Dominatag sends Aphra and Sana to infiltrate Crimson Dawn as well, hoping to steal information from the new rivals. When Darth Vader arrives and demands Solo be handed over to him, Jabba graciously departs, but another Hutt named Baku declares war on the Imperials. Vader slaughters every member of the Hutt Council except for Jabba. Aphra and Sana alert Crimson Dawn to their presence, and to escape, Aphra uses a mind control device called a Thought Dowser created by an ancient Force cult called the Ascendant. Valance is captured by the Empire, who threaten to kill Cadelia and Urala if he doesn't cooperate with them. Luke, Leia, Lando, and Chewie attempt to rescue Han, and although they fail, they are able to make an ally of Kira. During all the fighting, Boba Fett successfully reclaims Solo for himself, delivering the prize to Jabba's palace to save his reputation as the best bounty hunter in the galaxy. Kira reveals the chaos caused by the auction was simply the start of her plan to destroy the Sith who control the Empire. She gathers scholars, assassins, bounty hunters, and darkside wielders called the Knights of Ren to her cause. She activates Crimson Dawn sleeper agents across the galaxy, causing untold chaos for the Empire. Luke begins to seek out Jedi temples on a list compiled by R2-D2. On Ilum, he sees that the Empire is working to build some sort of facility into the planet itself. On the world Aldalim, he discovers an old holocron of Yoda's full of recordings he can use to continue his Jedi training. Leia defeats Commander Zara, and the new communication codes allow the Rebel fleet to safely gather once again. Dominatag grows interested in the Ascendant technology Aphra encountered and sends her out to find more. The archaeologist runs into an old rival named Ko, who seeks the same artifacts for Crimson Dawn. Sabe joins the Dawn as well, using their resources to learn the true identity of Darth Vader as Anakin Skywalker. But she sees a recording of Padme's final words, claiming that there is still good in him. She seeks out the Sith Lord and has a chance to destroy him, but decides to honor the memory of her closest friend and seek his redemption instead. During an Imperial attack on Urala's rebel cell, Crimson Dawn kidnaps Cadelia and delivers her to Kira. Several bounty hunters, led by Tonga, an old friend of Valance's, seek to rescue her. Instead, Kira convinces them to work with her against the Empire. Two Crimson Dawn agents within the Empire escape the construction of the second Death Star and inform the Rebel Alliance of its existence. Aphra and Sana's investigation into the Ascendant lead them to a temple where Aphra is possessed by an ancient artificial intelligence called the Spark Eternal. Sana and Ko team up to free Aphra, but the Spark Eternal escapes, allying itself with Kira. The other handmaidens of Padme seek out Sabe, fearing her growing affiliation with the Empire and Darth Vader. She refuses their rescue attempts and chooses to stay at Vader's side, hoping her actions will keep the rest of the handmaidens safe. Valance begrudgingly works for the Empire and is sent on a mission against Tonga and her team. There he learns of the attack on Urala's rebel cell, and so he leaves the Empire once more. Iden Versio and Inferno Squad are sent to hunt him down. Kira's attacks continue, but they are simply a distraction. The Knights of Ren work with a scholar named the Archivist to find and claim a device called the Fermata Cage. Designed by the Sith Lord Momin, it supposedly has the power to freeze people in time. Kira claims it holds the Sith Lord in stasis and threatens to unleash them against Darth Sidious. Requiring a massive connection to the dark side of the Force, the Fermata Cage is taken to the Amaxine station where it is activated. The Emperor and Vader personally lead a massive attack against Crimson Dawn there. The Spark Eternal attempts to stop them, but Darth Vader removes it from Dr. Aphra's body with ease. Kira activates the Fermata Cage, which doesn't actually hold a Sith inside. Instead, she hopes to trap Vader and Sidious within it. She is almost successful, but the Knights of Ren decide to ally themselves with the Sith. They destroy the cage and pledge their fealty to Palpatine. Kira flees and Crimson Dawn is destroyed. The Empire gets a hold of some locked-away crystal research of Avon Staros's that could help the development of the second Death Star's super laser. Sana and several other members of the Staros clan successfully recover it. Meanwhile, Leia is contacted by her friend, a rebel spy named Amelin Holdo. She acquires a real Nile Path engine, which supposedly holds the coordinates to a long-lost fuel convoy which would be invaluable to the rebellion. The engine takes Luke, Leia, and their friends to No Space, the home of the Nile headquarters hundreds of years earlier. The convoy is discovered and is shockingly still full of people who have been trapped there for generations. Chewbacca finds a way to use their path engine to rescue the lost convoy and bring them back to the known galaxy, but Luke's lightsaber is damaged during their adventure, and he decides it's time to build one of his own. As the Empire cleans up the aftermath of Crimson Dawn's uprising, the Spark Eternal is able to infest an ancient droid intelligence that was locked in the Fermata Cage by the Sith. It's able to duplicate itself and infect any droid it comes into contact with, infiltrating the Rebellion, the Empire, and the Tag Corporation, wreaking havoc across the galaxy. The entity comes to be known as the Scourge, and it seeks to move its consciousness into cyborgs and eventually fully organic beings so that it can understand and control the power of the Force. It is nearly successful, but the rebuilt droid Ajax Sigma assaults its ship, kills the Scourge, and ends its spread before it can assimilate any more droids. Dr. Aphra nearly dies destroying a tag ship full of corrupted droids. She has a chance to fake her death and start fresh, but decides she would rather spend her life with Sana and her friends at her side. The Empire sends a bounty hunter named Raslin Grace after them. Valance is corrupted by the Scourge, but recovers after its death. Still hoping to help Han Solo, he travels to Jabba's palace and picks a fight with the Crime Lord's rumored new security system, which turns out to be a Clone Wars-era megadroid. With the help of his other bounty hunter friends, they destroy it and let Luke, Leia, and Chewbacca know the coast is clear to rescue Han. Luke Skywalker seeks knowledge to build his own lightsaber. His travels lead him to a kyber crystal expert named Kuwata, who offers the young Jedi 2 crystals. One is clear, and Luke is able to bond with it, turning it green in color. The other is red, and Luke learns to purify it of the dark side, which helps him believe that there could still be hope for his father to return to the light side. Having learned from the Scourge, Darth Vader seeks to control a group of cybernetic rebel soldiers in his quest for more power. He is offered help by an Imperial schism that hopes to remove Palpatine as leader of the Empire. A group of TIE fighter pilots known as Shadow Wings see the growing loss of faith in Imperial leadership. They stop an admiral from leading a small secession against the Emperor. A rebel group called Twilight Company participates in the Battle of Inyusu Tor, which is not a major victory, but does bring the Solistan people more firmly into the rebellion. The Alliance prepares an assault on the second Death Star, gathering their forces at Solist. Leia offers herself up as high-profile bait, leading the Empire on a distracting chase across the galaxy to keep the fleet safe. But Palpatine is fully aware of the coming assault. The Rebellion intercepts a coded message that would reveal their attack on the second Death Star as a trap, but Inferno Squad infiltrates one of their ships and recovers the data. Leia and Chewbacca encounter the bounty hunter Bosch on the planet Ord Mantell. They defeat him and take his armor. Leia uses it as a disguise to create a cover for herself and Chewbacca to infiltrate Jabba's palace on Tatooine. Luke completes construction on his new lightsaber and finally rescues Han alongside Leia, Lando, and Chewie. Jabba the Hutt dies in the process. Boba Fett is left for dead in the desert. His armor is stolen by Jawas and he is captured by Tusken Raiders who come to respect his strength and accept him as part of their tribe. Luke returns to Dagobah, where Yoda confirms that Darth Vader is indeed his father before passing away. Immediately after, the spirit of Obi-Wan tells Luke that Leia is his twin sister. The Rebel Alliance makes final preparations for their assault on the second Death Star, which orbits the forest moon Endor. Han and Leia lead a ground mission to disable the space station's shield generator. Luke gives himself up to the Empire to try to bring his father back to the light side. The Rebel fleet falls into the trap, and in the Battle of Endor, Darth Vader sacrifices his life to save his son, killing Darth Sidious and becoming Anakin Skywalker once more in his final moments of life. Luke escapes as the second Death Star is destroyed and the Imperial fleet retreats. Celebrations occur across the galaxy, but in the Outer Rim, criminal syndicates immediately begin competing for power. On Tatooine, a local lawman named Cobb Vanth purchases Boba Fett's armor from Jawas and uses it to defend his small town of Mos Pelgo. Kira hears that the Empire has fallen and the Sith have been destroyed once and for all, or so she thinks. The Emperor's spirit flees to Exegol, where it inhabits a faulty clone of his body. He begins work to one day regain control of the galaxy by continuing construction on a massive fleet of planet-killing Star Destroyers. After learning she is Luke's brother and Vader's daughter, Leia marries Han on Endor. Mon Mothma announces the formation of the New Republic and sends the newlyweds to honeymoon on the old luxury liner Halcyon, assuring the galaxy that the death of the Emperor is cause for celebration. But even in his absence, Palpatine's influence is made known. Trusted Imperial commanders carry out Operation Cinder, a contingency plan prepared in the event of the Emperor's death. They target not only rebellious worlds, but also Imperial planets that failed to protect their leader. The Empire brings their full remaining might down on Mandalore. Bo-Katan surrenders the Darksaber to the Imperial Moff Gideon, hoping to spare her people, but the capital city is destroyed and countless Mandalorians are killed in what becomes known as the Great Purge. The survivors are scattered across the galaxy, living in exile. Luke travels the galaxy to research the Jedi Order and gather missing relics of their past. He recovers the remnants of the Force-imbued Uneti tree that once stood in the courtyard of the Jedi Temple, as well as a star compass. Inferno Squad defects from the Empire after refusing to take part in an attack on Iden Versio's homeworld Vardos. As part of the New Republic, they become one of many task forces sent out to hunt down high-ranking Imperial officers. Those officers form a Shadow Council to help facilitate the revitalization of the Empire. Luke begins training Leia in the Force. She builds her own lightsaber and splits her time between the life of a diplomat and the life of a Jedi. Yrica Quell, a member of Shadow Wing, also defects after she carries out a terrible attack that renders a planet inhospitable. Seeking redemption, she joins a specialized group of pilots called Alphabet Squadron under the command of Hera Syndulla. Their primary goal is to seek out and destroy the rest of Shadow Wing. The Wookiee homeworld Kashyyyk remains under Imperial control. Han and Chewbacca lead a mission to liberate it. Chewie decides to stay with his family. The rest of Alphabet Squadron learns of Yrica Quell's involvement in Operation Cinder. Ashamed, she returns to Shadow Wing, but works independently to sabotage the Empire. Hera leads a secret project to create a New Republic capital ship called the Starhawk. Vanguard Squadron is tasked with its protection. The Imperial pilots of Titan Squadron destroy the Starhawk prototype, delaying a New Republic victory in the Galactic Civil War. 1 year after the Battle of Endor, Operation Cinder culminates in the Battle of Jakku, which is a trap planned by Palpatine meant to wipe out both the Imperial Remnant and the New Republic. New Republic agents are able to stop the destruction of the planet, saving countless lives. Meanwhile, on Coruscant, Yrica Quell stops the destruction of a secret database that catalogs the war crimes of every member of the Empire, including her own. Grand Admiral Rey Sloane transmits coordinates to the few Imperial survivors who are considered worthy. They retreat into the unknown regions and rendezvous with the Emperor's secret super star destroyer, the Eclipse. The Imperials left behind either scatter or surrender, and the Galactic Civil War comes to an end. On the very same day, Leia gives birth to a son named Ben Solo. Her Jedi training comes to an end. Mon Mothma quickly begins to demilitarize the New Republic to assure the galaxy that the time for fighting has ended. Yrica Quell is given a pardon for her actions on Coruscant. The Pike Syndicate brings their spice trade to Tatooine. They murder Boba's Tusken tribe, leaving him to wander the Dune Sea as the sole survivor. Han and Lando are forced to revisit their former adventures involving the Phalanx Redux transmitter. They learn the device has the power to turn all droids into killers, and they seek it out and destroy it before it can be activated. A Mandalorian named Din Djarin works as a bounty hunter throughout the Outer Rim. He breaks the code of the Bounty Hunters Guild to save one of his targets, the small, Force-sensitive child named Grogu. His client is Moff Gideon, who still wields the Darksaber and is a member of the Imperial Remnant Shadow Council. He chases the Mandalorian and the child across the galaxy. Boba Fett saves the life of Fennec Shand on Tatooine. She joins him in his quest to take control of Jabba the Hutt's former territory from the Pike Syndicate. Din travels to Tatooine seeking aid from more Mandalorians and instead meets Cobb Vanth. He takes possession of Fett's armor, catching the attention of its true owner. Bo-Katan runs into Din and Grogu as she works to reclaim the Darksaber and unite their divided people. She guides Din to Ahsoka, who has escaped Malachor and now hunts Grand Admiral Thrawn. Together they apprehend an old ally of Thrawn's, a surviving Night Sister named Morgan Elsbeth. Ahsoka sends Din to Tython, where Grogu is able to reach out through the Force for a Jedi willing to train him. Boba Fett tracks them to the planet and takes back his armor. Moff Gideon also discovers them on Tython and captures Grogu. Din leads Boba Fett, Bo-Katan, Fennec Shand, and more on a mission to rescue the child. They are all nearly killed by Imperial battle droids called Dark Troopers, but are saved thanks to the intervention of Luke Skywalker, who felt Grogu's call for help through the Force. The Darksaber passes to Din after he beats Gideon in combat, but he breaks the Mandalorian creed by showing his face to say goodbye to the child. Gideon is arrested by the New Republic, but is rescued by Imperial Remnant forces on his way to Tribunal. He returns to the Shadow Council as they work to prepare for the return of Grand Admiral Thrawn. With his armor reclaimed, Boba Fett and Fennec Shand take control of Jabba's territory on Tatooine. Boba's former mentor, Cad Bane, works with the Pike Syndicate against Fett and his allies. He nearly kills Cobb Vanth in a gunfight. Din returns to bounty hunting and is expelled from his Mandalorian clan for breaking the creed. Grogu trains with Luke, who helps him remember his past as a young member of the Jedi Order. He offers the child a choice to continue training as a Jedi or to return to his life with the Mandalorian. He chooses Din, and they reunite on Tatooine, where they both help Boba Fett in his fight against the Pike Syndicate. Boba Fett defeats Cad Bane during the battle. Din takes Grogu to Mandalore to atone for the sin of removing his helmet. With the help of Bo-Katan, he bathes in the living waters and the mines of Mandalore and is accepted back into his covert. Din passes the Darksaber back to Bo-Katan and pledges loyalty to her. They lead several united groups of Mandalorians to reclaim their homeworld nearly a decade after the Empire's purge. There they discover Moff Gideon has established a secret base under the planet's surface. Mandalorian forces defeat Gideon and reignite the Great Forge in the ruins of their former capital city, symbolizing the end of their exile. Morgan Elsbeth is rescued from New Republic custody by a surviving but fallen Jedi named Baylan Skoll and his apprentice Shin Hati. Ahsoka reunites with Sabine Wren, and together they race to stop the Night Sister from bringing Grand Admiral Thrawn back to the Imperial Remnant. Their quest takes them to a completely different galaxy and a planet called Peridia, where Thrawn and Ezra have been exiled for nearly a decade. Despite their best efforts, Thrawn escapes back to the known galaxy, while Ahsoka, Sabine, Baylan, and Shin all wind up stranded on Peridia. But Ezra is able to sneak home on Thrawn's Star Destroyer thanks to Sabine's help. Under the Grand Admiral's leadership, the Imperial Remnant wages war against the New Republic, but they are defeated once again. Lando has a daughter he names Kadara Calrissian. In the unknown regions, surviving members of the Imperial Remnant face many dangers and only survive thanks to the help of a mysterious being known as Snoke. He is a puppet of Palpatine's, another creation of Project Necromancer, who slowly takes over the Empire by eliminating his competition until he is the only option left to follow. The Imperial Remnant becomes known as the First Order. Dathan, the clone of Palpatine, falls in love with a woman named Miramir. They have a daughter together named Rey. Hoping to keep his family hidden from Sith agents, Dathan moves them all to Jakku, where they survive as junk traders. The First Order begins kidnapping children to build their ranks. Kadara Calrissian is taken, and Lando begins searching for her. After years of learning about the Force and the Jedi Order of old, Luke decides he is ready to begin his own Jedi Academy, taking his nephew Ben as one of his first students on the planet Ossus. Snoke appears as an ally to Luke, offering to unlock new secrets of the Force, but his true purpose is to slowly corrupt Ben's heart. Han Solo grows restless and begins accepting jobs that take him across the galaxy. In Chewbacca's absence, he hires a young man named Duquesne as a temporary first mate. Duquesne betrays Han and steals the Millennium Falcon. Poe Dameron, the son of Kez Dameron and Shara Bey, grows up wishing he could live out the kinds of adventures his parents went on during the Galactic Civil War. He joins the criminal Spice Runners of Kijimi in a misguided attempt to escape his home. He falls in love with another member of the gang, Zori Bliss, but after a year with them, he decides he cannot live with the same morally ambiguous code, and he abandons her to return home. On a trip to explore an old Jedi outpost from the High Republic era, Luke, Ben, and their friend Lor San Tekka run into the Knights of Ren. Luke forces them to retreat, but not before they tempt young Ben with their power. Despite Dathan's best efforts, he and his family are discovered on Jakku by Ochi of Bestoon. They flee and reach out to the New Republic for help, claiming the Sith have returned. Luke and Lando join forces to find Dathan before their hunters. Rey is temporarily hidden back on Jakku as her parents lead Ochi to another desert planet. The assassin catches and kills them, and then perishes himself in the sinking fields of Pisana. Luke and Lando also reach Pisana, but find no sign of Ochi or the young girl they hoped to protect. Lando decides to remain there to continue the search. A First Order scouting ship crash lands on a savage planet called Parnassos. A brutal warrior named Phasma helps the First Order officers contact their allies, and in exchange they allow her to join their ranks to help viciously train their new stormtroopers. Poe Dameron joins the New Republic Academy to become a starfighter pilot. Having grown ill, Mon Mothma steps down as Chancellor of the New Republic. The Senate once again devolves into corruption without her leadership. Leia is nominated as a candidate to become the new Chancellor, but a rival learns that she is the daughter of Darth Vader and her political career is destroyed. In the midst of all this, Leia learns of the existence of the First Order, which the New Republic refuses to acknowledge, so she creates a secret resistance to better protect the galaxy. Luke senses darkness in his nephew and ignites his lightsaber against Ben in the midst of a terrible vision of a potential future. The young man knocks his uncle unconscious in retaliation, and in his anger and confusion accidentally destroys the temple, killing many of his fellow students. 3 survivors chase him to the open arms of Snoke and the Knights of Ren, who accept him as one of their own. Their leader kills one of the Padawans, unleashing Ben's fury, who kills the leader in turn and takes control of the Knights for himself. He alters his lightsaber, joins the First Order, and takes up the name Kylo Ren. Feeling responsible for his role in creating what he views as a new Darth Vader, Luke uses the star compass he found years ago to discover the location of the first Jedi Temple on Ahch-To, where he goes into hiding. Han and Leia are devastated at their son's fall to the dark side and they separate. Chewbacca returns to Han's side to comfort his old friend. Captain Phasma helps General Armitage Hux murder his father Brindle so that he may take up the Elder Hux's place as the head of the First Order Infantry. Bazine Natal is hired to retrieve a mysterious package from a veteran of the Battle of Endor. Sidon Athano, the pirate also known as the Crimson Corsair, follows a beacon to a rumored secret treasure of Count Dooku. Instead of riches, he finds the clone trooper Kix that had been frozen in stasis for nearly 50 years. After learning that the Jedi have been wiped out for decades, the clone joins the pirate crew. The First Order invades a small planet called Haze Minor to strip it for resources. Two sisters, Rose and Paige Tico, escape and join the Resistance. A young Force-sensitive boy named Carr discovers how to use his powers in psychometry to learn about the Jedi of old, whose history has been twisted by years of Imperial propaganda. He begins to collect old relics so that he can record a more accurate version of their tale. Poe Dameron becomes aware of the First Order and joins General Organa and her resistance. He takes control of Black Squadron, and his primary mission becomes the hunt for Luke Skywalker to bring him back to help. Their best lead is Lor San Tekka, who the pilots rescue from First Order agents who are also hoping to find and then destroy the Last Jedi. As San Tekka seeks more information about Luke's disappearance, Poe takes a New Republic pilot from Hosnian Prime named Kazuda Xiono under his wing. Kaz joins the Resistance and is stationed on an old space station called the Colossus, where he works to stop the First Order's infiltration. A Resistance spy named Vi Marati is captured by a First Order stormtrooper captain named Cardinal, but when she helps uncover Phasma and Armitage's murder of Brindle Hux, Cardinal defects and escapes with Vi. Lor San Tekka finds a piece of the map to the First Jedi Temple, and Poe meets him on Jakku to gather it. But Kylo Ren also tracks them to the planet, so Poe hides the map in his droid BB-8, who heads into the desert. Poe is captured and tortured, but escapes soon after thanks to a defecting Force-sensitive stormtrooper that comes to be known as Finn. They head back to Jakku to recover BB-8, but are separated. The little droid finds help in the form of Rey, who has remained on the planet as a scavenger, still believing her family will return for her. Rey meets Finn, and they attempt to return BB-8 to the Resistance by stealing the Millennium Falcon, which was stolen from Duquesne some years earlier. Han and Chewbacca quickly pick up the ship's transponder and retake it for themselves, but they agree to take Finn, Rey, and BB-8 to Takodana to get help from Maz Kanata. When Maz recognizes that Rey has powers in the Force, she offers her the lightsaber that once belonged to Anakin and Luke Skywalker. Fearing the Resistance will soon reach Luke, the First Order activates the superweapon they spent decades constructing on Ilum, Starkiller Base. They destroy the New Republic Senate and its fleet on Hosnian Prime in mere moments. From across the galaxy, Iden Versio witnesses the destruction and begins to investigate First Order activity with her daughter, Zay. They board a Star Destroyer and steal a number of schematics. Kaz experiences the loss of his homeworld on the Colossus. Despite his grief, he rallies the citizens of the station to reactivate its hyperdrive to escape the First Order. Kylo Ren attacks Takodana and captures Rey after learning she saw the map that leads to his uncle. Han, Chewie, and Finn travel to Starkiller Base to rescue her and hold Captain Phasma at Blaster Point to force her to lower the planetary shields. With Starkiller Base's defenses removed, Resistance pilots launch an attack on the superweapon. After withstanding an interrogation by Kylo Ren, Rey begins to better understand her powers. She frees herself and finds Finn and the others. At Leia's request, Han attempts to reach his son to bring him home, but instead, Kylo kills his father and faces Rey in a duel, hoping to convince her to join him. She defeats him and rejoins Finn and Chewbacca on the Falcon. Starkiller Base is destroyed, but the First Order escapes with knowledge of the location of the Resistance headquarters. Meanwhile, Iden and Zay hijack the Star Destroyer they boarded and pull it out of hyperspace just in time to witness the destruction. Iden dies from a blaster wound, and Zay takes the schematics back to the Resistance. A single First Order officer discovers Phasma lowered Starkiller Base's shields, so the captain hunts him down and executes him before he can tell anyone else. With the location of Luke Skywalker finally revealed, Rey and Chewie head for Octo to convince him to return to the fight. Meanwhile, the Resistance evacuates their base. Paige Tico dies covering the fleet's escape, which is then chased across the galaxy by Snoke's personal flagship. Most of Black Squadron are sent to gather help for the Resistance from their allies in the Outer Rim. Finn and Rose also attempt to find aid for their friends. Finn's experiences with Rose convince him it's not enough to simply defect from the First Order, he must also stand against them. Luke refuses to return to help fight the First Order, believing the galaxy is better off without the interference of the Jedi. Desperate and with no one else to turn to, Rey forges a mysterious mental connection with Kylo Ren and the two bond. When Luke witnesses her conversing with his nephew, he demands she leave. She seeks out Kylo on Snoke's ship, believing he will return to the light side. He does kill Snoke, but refuses to join her, and so she escapes. Running out of fuel, the Resistance takes shelter on Crate. Kylo Ren leads an attack to destroy them once and for all, but is suddenly confronted by his uncle. Luke buys the Resistance enough time to escape on the Falcon before Kylo realizes he is merely a projection in the Force. The effort of creating the illusion causes Luke to become one with the Force, but his example inspires the Resistance and the rest of the galaxy to fight against the First Order. The pilots of Black Squadron fall under attack and get word out to Poe, who races off to rescue them. Reunited, the squadron hides out on Ryloth with the rest of the Resistance. They gather what few leaders of the rebellion remain so they can rebuild the fight against the First Order, who take control of many major systems in the galaxy, including Corellia. Rey continues her Jedi training under the tutelage of Leia. On Batuu, Vimerati and Cardinal work to set up a new Resistance base. They are nearly discovered by the First Order, but Cardinal sacrifices his life to ensure the safety of his new allies. The notorious former pirate Hondo Ohnaka now runs a smuggling operation in Black Spire Outpost on the same planet. When the Millennium Falcon relocates there, he offers to keep it maintained and in exchange uses the ship to rob the First Order on Corellia. A smuggler stumbles across C-3PO and R2-D2 on Batuu and helps them reunite with the rest of the Resistance and their growing base. They also join forces with Hondo and other citizens of Batuu in destroying a First Order facility. The Halcyon celebrates its 275th anniversary on a voyage to Batuu. Along the way, it defends itself against an attack from both the First Order and pirates. Kaz and the citizens of the Colossus remain on the run from the First Order, who want to take control of their refueling station, but the citizens of the platform rally to stand against their pursuers and defeat them. Rey accompanies Leia on a mission to Mon Cala, hoping to recruit their old rebellion allies to their cause, but the First Order threatens to destroy any planet that provides aid to the Resistance and attacks the Mon Calamari. They fend off the attack and provide the Resistance with several ships. Meanwhile, Finn and Poe are attacked by bounty hunters seeking to cash in on high-value Resistance targets. The bounty hunters are thwarted, and then they head to Batuu on a job for Dak-On-Dar, a shady antiquities dealer. He pits the mercenaries against the First Order to secure an ancient Sith sword he has been after for years. While Rey, Rose, and Poe are on a mission gathering supplies for their friends, they pick up a distress beacon from a less technologically advanced species that is under siege from the First Order. They offer their assistance and remove the First Order's presence. When Palpatine's massive fleet of planet-killing Star Destroyers finally completes construction, he makes his survival known to the galaxy. Rey and her friends travel to Pasaana to seek aid from Lando as they search for the secret path to Exegol. Calrissian ends his exile and rejoins the fight. Kylo Ren attempts to turn Rey to the dark side by telling her the truth about her parents and revealing that she is a Palpatine. While they duel, Leia uses her last bit of strength to reach out to her son through the Force. With that act, she passes away. Sensing her death, Kylo is distracted and then mortally wounded by Rey, who then heals him rather than let him die. The acts of compassion at last bring Ben Solo back to the light side of the Force. He helps lead Rey and her friends to Exegol, where together they fight against the Emperor alongside not only the Resistance, but the entire galaxy. The Sith fleet is destroyed and the Emperor is killed, but Rey is also mortally wounded. Ben then sacrifices his life to heal her and becomes one with the Force. Rey buries the lightsabers of Luke and Leia on Tatooine, rejecting her family name of Palpatine, choosing instead to be known as a Skywalker. She prepares to build a new Jedi Order. As of May 4th, 2024, that concludes the story of the Star Wars canon. I was able to include just about every book, comic arc, and video game, in addition to, of course, the films and television series. Basically, if one book or comic or any one story affected another story, I did my best to mention it. Here at the end, I also want to add a quick little frequently asked questions section because I tend to get the same comments every year. First, why didn't I include the ending of The Bad Batch? I'm anticipating this question a bit, but the answer is that I don't know the ending as of recording this. Even if I did, the series just ended 3 days before I'll be releasing this video, so I wouldn't want to spoil it for anyone who hadn't seen it yet. What do BBY and ABY mean? BBY stands for Before the Battle of Yavin, and ABY stands for After the Battle of Yavin. Basically, we're talking about how many years before or after Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope any given event takes place. Where is Starkiller or Darth Revan or insert other characters here? They're either not canon, or the events surrounding them that you're most familiar with aren't canon. Starkiller and the Force Unleashed are not canon. Darth Revan is canon, the character has been named in stories, but Knights of the Old Republic is not canon. I know it can be confusing. Well, what about the Rakata? I saw this question pop up a lot last year, because the Rakata are canon, they were mentioned in Andor, and their homeworld has been shown on galactic maps, but all of the history surrounding them is from Knights of the Old Republic, which is classified as legends, so I didn't include them in the Dawn of the Jedi or Old Republic eras. What is canon anyway? The dividing line is the date April 25th, 2014. Most Star Wars stories created after that date are canon, with the exception of a few projects like Star Wars Visions. Any stories created before that date are classified as Star Wars Legends, with the exception of the 6 films and the Clone Wars animated series. The 2008 one, not the 2003 microseries. See? Confusing. Why didn't I include your favorite definitely canon character? It's really hard to find the balance between honoring every character or event in Star Wars and maintaining a good flow for the video. For example, I want to mention far more Jedi from the High Republic era, but the more granular I tried to get, the more I felt like the video got bogged down. When all 3 phases of the High Republic are complete, I think it'll be easier for me to cover in more detail. But yeah, every Star Wars character is someone's favorite, and there's just not enough time to give everyone a shout out. And you know I'm not a hypocrite because I didn't mention Biggs Darklighter a single time. Until right now. But that brings us to the end of this year's complete canon timeline. Thank you so much for watching. This video is a ton of work every year, but it's also my favorite video to make every year. I love timelines, and I love being able to take the time to highlight the great Star Wars stories that don't get the same level of attention as the films or live-action streaming series. You can expect an update to this video in exactly 1 year on May 4th, 2025. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel to keep up with our daily Star Wars coverage, follow us on our socials, and consider checking out our Patreon page for even more Star Wars content. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force and the Fourth be with you.